A voice says he hates humanity. We see a lavish mansion, and inside, rich guests are having a fancy party. They are looking at a young man who is casting a small ball of light over his raised hand. The host brags about the latest addition to his collection, referring to the young man who is kneeling alongside some sculptures. The man calls Bai the living lamp. He had a 1200 power level, so he was the focus of many. But when his ability finally awakened, it was just an F rank. All he could do was make a ball of light in his hands. The rich host then states that if not for his kindness, Bai would have been sold for his organs. As the guests cruelly laugh and mock him, Bai is convinced there are no good people in this world. He vows to kill all of them, even if it leads to the extinction of mankind. We then learn that the world is polluted. Numerous disasters occurred. The statue of the Imperial Valkyrie mutated. A 100-meter-tall regiment of stone giants was summoned and destroyed the city. The Mana Trench turned into a dimensional vortex, and aliens swarmed out. Advent Island was completely overrun by demons. A giant two-dimensional picture book appeared randomly all over the world and sucked in numerous buildings and humans. In addition, any object in the world could turn into deadly pollutants. As a result, the human population went from 12 billion to 6 billion in half a year. It was at this moment when all hope seemed lost that sealers appeared. They were humans empowered by pollution. They sealed the pollutants, thus gaining wealth and honor. They became heroes, the last guardians of mankind. We then see Bai in a student uniform heading for school. It turns out he was reborn. He still harbors the belief that humans should be exterminated. He looks around at all the students who have gathered for the sealer qualification exam. Suddenly, someone with a tattooed arm grabs his shoulder. It's a tall blonde man in a Hawaiian shirt who says he has been looking for him. Bai remembers Kim, who was the lone shark who ruined his family in his previous life. Kim mocks him for not saying anything and then draws the attention of the nearby students. He says Bai is the genius who tested at the 1200 power level 3 years ago. The students are familiar with the story and start laughing at him. They mock him for only awakening a lame ability despite his high energy. Kim joins in on the laughter and asks what it is like to be watched by everyone. It is only by becoming a sealer that Bai will be able to be sold for a good price to pay back what he owes Kim. Otherwise, his organs may be found all over the world. Bai is familiar with this encounter, as it is playing out in exactly the same way. In his past life, Kim died in a pollutant incident, so Bai was not able to get revenge. He then grabs Kim by the collar of his shirt and berates him for being so loud. On top of that, he insults him by using his own daughter. The lone shark is enraged and balls his fist as he moves to punch Bai. The young man is unbothered though, and even dares Kim to hit him in the face. He says if he gets hurt, he won't be able to pass the exam, and then Kim will have to explain to his boss why he can't pay the loan. The lone shark sweats a bit, knowing Bai is right. He lets go of the student, and then says he had better pass or suffer the consequences. To his surprise, Bai points a finger at his face and then, with a sinister grin, says that he has been marked. He then casually walks away. The other students continue to avoid him though, refusing to even make eye contact. None of them wants to be associated with him. Bai expects all of this, as it is human nature. We then flash back to 3 years ago on this very same exam site. Bai, at that time, was a wide-eyed teen filled with enthusiasm. He tells everyone his dream is to protect humanity and seal all the pollutants in the world. At the age of 16, some people awaken unique special abilities. Those who meet the criteria of ability, level, and combat can become a sealer. Ability is a skill. Power level is the amount of energy you have. Levels determine how powerful the abilities will be. The crowd looks on with admiration, believing that the teen's high power level will lead to him being a pillar of the country. Headmaster Pushkin moves closer to using his foresight ability on Bai. He places his hand on the teen's head and says he can't see what he is going to awaken yet. His voice then gets louder as he declares that he can see it. The young man will shine among the stars. The students become even more excited, as even the famous heroes have never received such a prophecy. At that moment, Bai thought his life would be awesome. His mom could buy the best vegetables, and his sister could purchase her desired long skirt. His dad could relax, and he would be able to meet lots of pretty girls. He thought of all the student loans, news reports, and advanced sponsorship promises. Then, his power awoke. It was an F-rank summon light sphere. It was a simple ball of light with no heat, no effect, and no attack power. All the goodwill that he had received from others quickly turned into a ruthless backlash. They saw him as having trash power and stopped seeing him as a human being. He remembers all the terrible things that happened to him with a feeling similar to that of falling into an abyss. All the benefits were withdrawn, and they had to sell the house to pay off their debt. His father owed money to Kim and took his sister to hide abroad. Now he is here taking the sealer's entrance exam so he can pass and pay back the money. So far, everything is happening the same way, including her, as he spots a stealth girl with long hair. She is examining her sword as Bai thinks that while humanity should go extinct, she deserves to live. A voice on the speakers calls the attention of the students and announces that the exam will start soon. They are instructed to form teams and then to search for pollutants and seal them. Shaju then declares that the exam has officially begun. She wishes everyone good luck as they frantically start forming teams. Some students beg to be allowed in some teams, citing their abilities. Other teams search for one more member who will suit their skills. As the students scurry about the field, a teacher notes that the most powerful ones had already agreed to join together before the exam began. This can be unfair to others. Examiner Jin notes that those who go alone usually don't last long. Shaju scoffs at this notion, saying that completing tasks alive is what ultimately matters. Connections, money, and power are factors that exist, and those who live are those who are useful. Jin then shares that 95% of the students have already found a team. She looks at the stats and sees that all the students' power levels are below 100. She then gets surprised when she reads that one student has a 1200 power level. However, who points out that Bai doesn't even have a team that wants him. In the field, the students have now paired up in groups of 4 or 5. A spiky-haired student begs one team to accept him. However, they'd push him away since he is just an E rank. Bai approaches the student and suggests they be together since they both can't find a team. The student is angered at the suggestion and declines. On top of that, he punches Bai and tells him to stay away. The young man looks up and remembers how that teen used to act like his friend. He covers his bloody nose as he is left alone again. Just then, the pretty girl from earlier hands him a handkerchief. Her name is Sheena, and she has purple hair and eyes. Bai tells her to be careful since she hasn't awakened her powers yet. Sheena says not to worry, as everyone knows she has 0 power and is 0 power level. Bai smiles and says that the future has limitless possibilities. Zhang then calls her and asks for her personal information so they can team up. He is a B rank with the ability Rock Fist. Sheena explains that her cousin hired a team to help her pass the exam. She then asks if Bai can come along. He says that they are there to follow her orders, and Bai asks why she is helping him. He wants to know the answer and considers it very important. She replies that it might be sympathy, and that he shouldn't think too much about it. He then hands his application paper to Zhang. The big man asks how Bai knows his name. Bai makes a small light sphere between his fingers and says it can illuminate the unknown. Zhang is amazed, but Bai says he just said that for fun. The students are then instructed to enter the school building area to search for trigger pollutants. We follow a group of 4 students as they walk between the buildings. They are Gray, a D rank with the ability to plant growth, Chen, a C rank who has Lave Earth, Yichun, a healer, and Luna, a cat girl with the ability to stun stance. Chen hopes they can find some pollutants in the area. Gray tells him that she senses something in the nearby flower beds. Luna then jumps forward to clear the way. She hops ahead of the group but stops as some pollutants emerge from the ground. She warns her group, then jumps out of the way of the massive plant creature, which stands ready to attack. Suddenly, more small 4-leaf clover enemies come out from the ground all around them. There are too many Gray to suppress. Chen orders Luna to use her stun skill to buy them some time. She activates her stun stance but informs the others she can only hold it for 8 seconds. That is all the time he needs as he buries his hands into the ground and casts lava jet. Multiple mini volcanoes spring from the ground, burning all the plant pollutants. They all scream in pain as the flames engulf them. Chen then asks if everyone is okay. Luna goes to the corpse of the leader and shows its core to the captain. He takes it from her, stating that once planted, it will turn into a pollutant again. However, it won't produce a leader but rather a stream of the smaller 4-leaf clovers, making it an infinite source of resources. Shen holds it in his hands and declares that the sealed objects are the most precious treasure of mankind. Elsewhere, Bai and his group are also searching the premises. He looks calm and relaxed, but Sheena tells him to stay alert. He wonders why she is afraid, as their captain is a B rank. Actually, Bai is starting to get impatient for Zhang to find the pollutant. The large captain tells them to keep searching. Bai, however, is thinking of a special pollutant that has the pollute domain ability. This is a separate space formed around a pollutant that's sealed off from the outside world. Suddenly, Zhang senses something. He asks Bai to use the sphere to explore the warehouse. Sheena wonders why he has no flashlight, but Bai is overjoyed that someone actually needs his powers. He runs forward and drags Zhang with him. He smiles and then steps on a specific location on the ground. His teammates are surprised as the ground seems to melt underneath them, and they are engulfed in a kind of black ooze. Back at the main field, where the teachers are observing the exam, Jin states that they have lost surveillance of a group of students. In addition, the only C-class pollutant has been triggered. Shaju is unperturbed as she says that dying is a common occurrence. Meanwhile, Bai uses his sphere to light up the area. They spot a big spider perched on its web. It is a crypt demon spider. Zhang tells everyone to stop and follow his lead. He orders Qian to control the noise so the monster will not wake up, and for Jinzi to subdue it. Qian suggests, though, that they first get rid of Bai to lessen their burden. Sheena is appalled to hear this and states that her family's money is not for killing innocents. Zhang backs her up, saying her word is law. He then points at Bai and tells him to stay away and be a good streetlight. Jinzi jokes that they should hang him from the ceiling so they can have a better view. The three guys laugh at this, but Sheena tells them to be on guard as something doesn't feel right. Bai then grabs her by the hand, and she asks what he is doing. He knows she is holding a magic sword and says they are both incapable of fighting, so she should let a man protect her. Sheena is speechless, and Bai says that he is actually filled with a sense of justice and responsibility. His eyes move downward as he raises the sword and uses it to stab Sheena's shadow. His party mates are surprised as Bai tells Goki, the second master of the Jai family, to come out. Sheena is shocked as Bai pulls her back from the shadow. Goki then slowly emerges from the darkness and compliments Bai's eyesight. He then tells the young man to join his research, which is about transferring his power level to him. Sheena is still in shock that her cousin is here, while Bai is ready for this encounter. He remembers that in his past life, Goki made the spider eat one of his hands. He also shamelessly ravaged his cousin. Now, Bai smiles at him and says he will get a taste of what it is like to be abused and killed. He then raises his hand and declares that it is time to show his true ability. Bai awakens his true ability, which is the Divine Hand. It grants the target a random ability with the same level as the host. This ability can then be withdrawn, and the target will receive feedback from the power level. The abilities granted are all recorded and can be used at the host's discretion. Qian and Jinzi falsely act like they are scared that Bai is awakening. Zhang joins in on the two, but then the three guys stop and burst out in laughter. They mock Bai, saying second awakenings are unheard of. Goki, though, tells Bai to focus on him as dark energy suddenly appears under Sheena's feet. Goki moves in and grabs her by the neck. Sheena can barely breathe but still selflessly shouts at Bai to escape. The young man looks touched to hear this, but before he can act, Zhang comes in front of him. The big dude balls his fist and then activates his rock hand ability. He stands between Bai and Sheena while his two partners head for the demon spider. The purple-haired beauty starts to cry with regret, lamenting that she could have killed them if only she had awakened her power. Bai then points his spear at her and says he will grant her the chance to change her destiny. He flings the light ball forward. It zips right by Zhang. Goki is pissed and casts a shadow wall. To his surprise, the sphere breaks right through and heads right for Sheena. It enters her forehead, and she suddenly starts to glow. Her cousin recognizes it as the aura of an awakened power and starts to sweat. He realizes that Bai has the power to help others awaken. He extends his hand and offers to have the gifted young man work for him. Bai turns him down without a second thought, adding that Goki will be dead soon, so he won't be able to pay his wages. Sheena, meanwhile, is getting hotter, forcing him to let go. The flames are so hot that they burn off all her clothes. She is an A rank who has awakened the ability of thermal mastery with a power level of 1200. Sheena can't believe what is happening, but Bai tells her to stop standing still and to move. With a fierce gaze, she turns to Goki. He tries to talk her out of fighting, saying she is not yet familiar with her powers. Zhang, though, is actually moving towards her, planning to strike from behind. He jumps up and prepares to smash her with his thing-like fist. Sheena sees him coming, though, and blasts him with a powerful burst of fire. Zhang is charred into a crisp, while Goki looks in disbelief as even he can't kill a B rank in one hit. He uses his ability to dive and hide in the shadow. He moves behind her, thinking that while she has awakened the thermal ability, it has a short attack range that he can take advantage of. He moves closer, planning to kill her with his shadow dagger. He comes out of the shadows and looks poised to strike. Bai, though, asks if Goki really thinks he is safe. For an A rank with a 1200 power level, crushing him will be like squishing a bug. Goki is still determined not to give up and fires. Sheena, though, also attacks him with a powerful concentrated flame blast that neutralizes his shadow daggers and burns him alive. Bai celebrates her victory while Sheena takes a deep breath and then reassesses what just happened to her. Like a good gentleman, Bai covers her up with his jacket and says it is normal for her heart to beat so fast in her first fight. Sheena still can't believe that her cousin, who had been so good to her before, tried to kill her. Bai adds that her parent might have also suffered a terrible death at his hands as he planned to take over the family. She thanks him wholeheartedly, then faints in his arms due to exhaustion. Bai then feels a surge of energy and realizes that he has also gained the ability that she awakened. He also got a 9 power level feedback, bringing his total to 1,209. Suddenly, Jinzi appears above him, having merged with the demon spider. He sees that Sheena has fainted and thinks this is his chance to kill Bai. As he believes the young man has no combat skills, he moves forward, but Bai grabs Sheena and jumps away to safety. He smiles and wonders why Jinzi would assume that. The spider demon, though, is overflowing with bloodlust, screaming that Bai has no place to hide and will die. Thermal Mastery forms a heat energy light cone by releasing heat instantly. Bai grabs the water bottle and wonders what if it absorbs heat. He lets the water out, allowing him to absorb heat and condense water into ice, forming an ice sword at 0 degrees. He turns to face Jinzi and asks him why he would ever need to hide. Jinzi tells Kian, who is hiding behind him, not to be afraid. He asks if his buddy has a trick, and Kian replies that he just needs some time. This is no problem for Jinzi as he casts a poisonous spider web. Bai sees it coming and smiles with confidence. He swings his sword using 0 degree slash. This sends ice shockwaves that meet the web and turn it into frozen powder. Bai stares at Jinzi and asks if that is all he has got. He then leaps forward and strikes the spider demon's legs with his ice sword. Jinzi screams in terror, but Bai tells him not to die yet as he still has some experiments to try. He thrusts his sword forward right into the spider's mouth. The demon's head begins to freeze while the top part of the sword starts to gain a purplish color. Bai takes it out and sees that it has gotten longer. It was also able to absorb the spider's poisonous venom, giving it a poison effect. He raises it high, then prepares to deliver the finishing blow. Jinzi screams, though, that he shouldn't be killed. He is one with the spider, and his death will result in the pollute domain breaking. Bai sees that he is right. Goki planned this assassination with the intent of using the pollute domain to destroy all traces of his crime. Jinzi sees a chance and releases control of the demon spider. If he loses control of the demon, it will unlock the pollute domain and run away when it feels its life is in danger. Kian, meanwhile, is busy accumulating the power of sound. Bai sees that the spider will be a problem, but decides he can deal with it later. Kian completes his charging and fires a sonic slam cannon. It passes right through Bai's ears, causing him to fall to his knees due to the powerful sound. Kian is pleased as all humans have the same weakness, no matter how strong. Jinzi runs to take Sheena's sword, saying they mustn't waste their chance. The demon spider is also slowly approaching Bai, who is still on his knees. It moves forward to chomp him, but Bai is able to recover and convert his ice sword into an ice shield to block it. He smiles, saying that he now has no reason to hesitate in killing. He runs away from the spider while Kian prepares another sound attack. He then panics when he realizes Bai is heading for their captain's body. He stands over Zhang's burned corpse and casts his light sphere. He flings it at the body, granting it 1,200 power levels. He immediately retrieves it, thus instantly gaining the Rock Fist ability and an additional 212 power points. He casts it right away on his right hand, and then uses it to smash the spider demon like a bug. He then runs again, this time to Guan's dead body. He does the same thing that he did with Zhang, and just like that, he now has the Black Shadow A-rank ability as well. Jinzi and Kian attempt to attack him from behind, but Bai disappears into his shadow, avoiding their attacks. The shadow starts slithering through the ground like a snake as Kian realizes that Bai has the ability to copy other people's skills. A dark shadow stealthily emerges behind the helpless student and engulfs him in darkness. Bai also gains the sound skill in the process, leaving Jinzi, who is now shaking in fear. Bai reveals himself and says that they will do one more experiment. Jinzi flees for his life as Bai tries an ability combination. He uses a rock fist to form the base, shadow magic to fuel it, and heat and sound power combine to form a thermal energy cannon. He calls it his special attack to kill Pushkin, which he calls the Hellcrusher Gold Cannon. He fires the powerful spell at his cowering enemy, who is helpless to defend himself. The blast completely disintegrates him, while Bai is pleased that his experiment worked. The pollutant domain then vanishes, leaving Bai and Sheena back on the campus. He is pleased, as the pollutant was also successfully sealed. He holds it in his hand, then looks up and is surprised. Shaju, the other examiners, and some students are there watching him. Bai asks what they are doing there, and Shaju replies by asking where Goki is. Bai can tell from the way Shaju asked about Goki that she is colluding with him. He looks at Sheena and remembers how she died unjustly in her previous life, and how he wants to avoid such a fate for her this time. Bai pretends he does not know who Goki is by asking if he is Sheena's cousin. He wonders if she knew from the start that Goki's body would disappear once the pollute domain disappeared. Suddenly, Sheena's bodyguards arrive and are in a hurry to get to their unconscious mistress. They work quickly as they call a driver to take her to the hospital and cover her up. Bai tells them she is going to be okay and is just exhausted. The head bodyguard, Ryan, thinks he has something to do with his mistress's state and so demands to know from him what happened. Shaju also asks the bodyguards to arrest him since she has things to ask him too. This leads everyone to surround him. One of the bodyguards, Fenny, takes off her glasses to use her power of locking in on her target with her vision. The deputy examiners also activate their powers to be ready. Bai tries to calm them and asks to take away their powers so that he can explain properly. Deep down, he does not want to face them head-on since he knows nothing of their abilities yet. Unfortunately, Ryan half-transforms into his monster dinosaur form, all threatening to tear him into pieces if he does not tell them everything. Bai determines that he can't escape from them, no matter what he does. Shaju tells him that she is authorized to execute him as the head examiner, but offers to let him live if he tells them what happened. Bai says he understands but asks that they handle the situation calmly. He shows her his and Sheena's exam files and requests that Shaju sign the papers to say that they passed. With a snap of her finger, Shaju tears the files into dust. Bai wonders if the head examiner's ability is to decompose matter. She warns him that each of her fingernails contains an attack that can make him disappear, and so offers that he confess fast. She also tells Ryan that Sheena will get the highest score for getting out of the pollute domain alive. Ryan raises his fist at Bai and threatens to hit him. Bai can tell that he was not just boasting when he threatened to tear him into pieces. He instantly tells them that he will talk and tells them that Goki instructed him to keep secret that he wanted to take the treasure from the school. Shaju does not believe him since she can't sense Goki's presence. Pretending to be afraid, Bai says Goki is after Headmaster Pushkin's treasure. The mention of the headmaster intrigues Shaju. Ming reminds her that they can't afford to offend Pushkin. Jin also informs her that Pushkin is currently in the neighboring city's school to give a lecture. Shaju tries to put everything in her head and wonders if Goki is really after Pushkin's treasure. She believes that Goki must have spared Bai and Sheena since he thinks they might still be useful, and wants her to keep them in custody to avoid leaking the secret. She regrets that she involved the Jai family's bodyguards. She demands that Bai take them to Goki immediately. Meanwhile, the bodyguards are just about ready to take their mistress to the hospital. Bai wonders if he and Sheena can still see each other alive in the future. He makes a mischievous smile, believing that their interrogation of him means they are playing right into his trap. They walk the campus until they reach the building. Students see Bai being taken in by the examiners and look down on him for it. Bai tells the examiners that they might need to go to the headmaster's office to see Goki. Before they go to the office, Bai secretly manipulates his shadow on the ground. They open the door to the office for the examiners to see what looks like Goki in his shadow form. Bai thanks Pushki for taking him into his office in his past life. The Goki shadow then grabs the golden ox statue displayed near it and throws it to Shaju. The moment she catches it, Bai declares that an S-class pollute domain has opened. A bright light engulfs the building therein, so blinding that even the students outside cover their eyes. Elsewhere at a neighboring school, Pushkin is giving a lecture about pollute domains and how it is the area dominated by the power of pollutant. He says that how he rules within the domain depends on the ability and level of the boss. He says that domains under C rank are not a threat, but those above C rank vary from people unknowingly being poisoned to people falling into an eternal sleep to bosses killing anyone the moment they step on their domain. Pushkin informs them that they must defeat the boss to get out of the domain, and that the prerequisite to defeating them is to know the domain rules. In front of Pushkin is shown to be a lecture hall full of students all listening. One student asks the headmaster if he knows of the recent A-rank domain reported recently. Hearing about the A-rank domain incident causes fear among the crowd. The student who mentioned the A-rank domain incident informs the others that the casualty rate for sealers in an A-rank domain is 90%. He believes that the headmaster telling newcomers like him about to C-class domains must mean that even higher-level domains have become so widespread that information about A-class domains has become impossible to control. Pushkin returns their attention towards him to tell them that they are right about their worries, and the reason he came to their school is because it is his duty to tell the future of mankind about the problem. He informs them that above C-class domains have an 80% casualty rate, and that A-rank domains have a 90% casualty rate. Above all, he informs them that an S-class domain has a casualty rate of 99%. This leads the students to panic. One student stands up to ask the headmaster if he can tell if humanity will perish with his prophetic ability. He answers that a turning point in mankind will happen in 3 months. Meanwhile, Bai's entire university campus is being covered up by a barrier. Bai smiles, as it is nostalgic for him to be in an S-class pollute domain again. Shaju realizes that the domain was activated when the golden ox statue was tossed, and so asks Goki what is going on. The Goki shadow gets reabsorbed by Bai for everyone to see. Shaju realizes that it is just his trick. Bai activates his shadow power, giving him the ability to swim on the ground to escape from their grasp. Ming lengthens his octopus tentacle arms to block Bai's path. Ming boasts that his tentacles can even stop A-class sealers. Bai gets deeper into his shadow to make himself intangible. Ming tells him that his aura is locked on by his tentacles. Even as a shadow on the ground, Ming's tentacles can still catch up to Bai. Wang then summons her electric pixies and commands them to zap the shadow with lightning. It leads the shadow to become immobile to the point that Ming catches him. Bai is surprised that his tentacles can touch his shadow form. Shaju steps into the shadow and demands to know why he has Goki's ability. Bai asks her what the sharpest sound is. Then he uses Qian's sound control to overwhelm everyone with loud sound. It is so intense that the surrounding glass shatters and all their ears get wounded. A second later, they realize Bai is gone. Ryan appears in his dinosaur monster form to advise the examiners to go to safety now that they are in an over A-class domain. The dinosaur jumps out the window while Fenny follows him on the ground. Shaju believes Ryan is not telling them something about the domain, considering that the Jai family's research on domains is on another level from the norm. She tells her deputy examiners to follow her closely so they can find a way to leave the domain. Meanwhile, the students outside are confused why they are behind a barrier. Meanwhile, Bai is on top of a rooftop and is in pain after losing an arm while trying to escape earlier. He is frustrated that he lost an arm the same way he did in his past life. Still, he smiles as he thinks about his plans for killing Pushkin to stop him from what he will do in 3 months. The students are starting to panic that they are trapped inside a barrier. One of them, Chen, sees the situation and figures he can use the others to figure out the rules of the pollute domain. He gets everyone's attention and tells them that the barrier is actually part of the exam and that they need to work together to get a better grade. He volunteers to be their leader and so boasts about his A+ grade in tactical planning. Luna, the cat girl, seconds that he would be a great leader. One of the students, Masa, gets frustrated that Chen got ahead of him in volunteering to be a leader, believing he could have had a higher grade if he were the captain. Another would-be alpha, named Yin, asks Ian to show his ability so he could be convinced that he would be a good leader for them. Chen demonstrates his power by turning the nearby floor into lava, just as he asks if they are impressed by his ability. A bowl made of red energy rams into him in front of the student crowd. They all become more fearful now that they have confirmed that they are in a domain and that the rule has just been activated. They try to figure out what rule he broke, but can't with so little information. Luna mourns for her dead captain and is shivering. The moment some of Chen's lifeblood goes to the catgirl's hand, the bull attacks her too. Some of her lifeblood gets into the clothes of the others watching and they get rammed too. Meanwhile, Bai is on the rooftop, watching the students being killed one by one. He mourns that people need to die in the world. He knows that in 3 months, Pushkin will release the demon bull into the world, leaving only a few dozen people in Heewon City. He remembers until the bull consumed all, until no one was left. To him, what is happening now seems so small. The situation in the school is so dire that students start bullying each other. Others turn to pleading on their knees for the situation to stop. Bai informs the viewers that the pollutant is the S-rank Golden Bull Rush, and that once activated, the monster will trample anyone who causes a small color change. Once the people get angrier, the rules become even more strict. He thinks about how much of a terrifying Pushkin is for turning such a monster into a weapon. He jumps off the rooftop and uses the thermal change ability to heat the air beneath him and so, slowing down his descent. He lands and catches how careful he is not to trigger the color change rule. He believes that once day turns into night, the area will be a massacre. He does not want to recall the chaos in the future and so focuses on finding Sheena and saving her. Meanwhile, Fenny asks Ryan if they are going after Bai. Ryan reminds her that their duty is to protect Sheena and to find Goki. The Dino also tells her that he knows Bai saved Sheena's life and that he only pretended to be in league with Shaju. Secretly, Fenny wants to kill Ryan and Sheena because her loyalty is to her master, Goki. Wang tells Ryan that Sheena is still unconscious but okay inside the van. Wang and Fenny gesture to each other that it is time for their betrayal plan. They want Ryan to enter the van so they can trigger the bomb underneath. Secretly, Wang has a light switch made of energy that is connected to the bomb under the van and that, once he presses it, will detonate. Wang believes that once Goki becomes the head of the family, his position will also rise. He readies to press the switch, knowing his life will forever change once he does. Fenny stops him from pressing as she notices someone is coming. The three examiners appear, and Shaju tells Wang and Fenny to let their boss come out of the van since they need to talk about the pollute domain. Secretly, Shaju wants the opportunity to kill Sheena, but can't find the opening. She worries that if she messes with the current head of the Jai family, she will be in trouble. Ryan gets out of the van to tell her that he does not want to cooperate with them since their priority is to get Sheena to safety. Shaju suggests that they cooperate to keep her alive. He admits that her power to turn things to dust is something that was only given to her, and that her real ability is spatial backpack. She explains that she can open a portal to another dimensional space that keeps them away from danger. Ryan sees that her plan is for all of them to get sheltered in her space. Shaju asks what the Jai family's research says about beating high-level domains. The only information Ryan shares is that they are all doomed and that only a pollutant can beat a pollutant. Shaju demands that he quit keeping information since they are all in danger right now. Ryan says he will say more as long as Sheena comes into her space first. Shaju says her plan is to gather all the living students and gather information. Ryan disagrees with this because gathering people means more chances that the rules would be triggered, and instead wants them to investigate the dead for info. He orders Fenny to use her Visio ability to analyze the dead, so she takes off her glasses and activates her vision ability. Meanwhile, Shaju gets busy plotting her own escape plans. She orders Jin to check the student information and then orders Ming to use his tentacles to grab students. Secretly, she wants to gather as many of the lives to sacrifice as possible to gather information. Meanwhile, Bai is hiding behind a distant building wall, and he has heard of their plan to grab students to test the rules. He thinks about how he can get to Sheena while everyone is mixed together. He gets startled as a girl student sneaks up behind him. He demands to know how she can be of use to him, so he will not kill her. She introduces herself as Xiao and tells him that Ming's tentacles will grab her in 17 seconds, and that he can use her as bait to retreat his ability. Bai demands to know her ability and then grabs her by the throat. Ming's tentacles arrive and grab onto Xiao. Bai thinks it is a mistake to ignore him. He uses his power to bestow others with abilities on Xiao while she is being grabbed by the tentacles. The light of his power travels all the way to Ming. He sucks Ming of all of his energy, putting him unconscious. He then steps on one of his lifeless tentacles and uses it as a conduit to send his shadow on Ming. This leads to the bull ramming Ming. Before anything happens to her, Shaju uses her spatial ability to escape. Bai then activates his Hell Crusher gold cannon and fires concentrated sound waves, eliminating Fenny and Wang. Even more abilities get added to Bai's collection. Xiao is amazed at how strong Bai is and how it only took him a few seconds to formulate a counterattack plan. She reviews that he gave her and Ming power, and then withdrew it instantly. He then put a shadow on the examiner to trigger the color change rule. At the same time, the demon bull hit him. He fired his cannon to distract Fenny from realizing he was already stealing her ability. Because of the color change of the explosion, the demo bull returned to finish everyone off. She came to both admire and fear him. He came to believe he is her hope for survival. Bai reads her mind and tells her to keep praising him. Xiao realizes he also stole her mind-reading ability and becomes all flustered that he heard everything she was thinking. Bai tells her through mind connection to shut up and listen to him. He tells her that he needs his help since they can communicate with each other through their minds. He bestows her with the Rock Fist ability and a 1000 power level to help her gather students so she can collect abilities for him. He warns her not to try to escape from him since he can sense her wherever she goes in the domain. Instead of being threatened, Xiao's heart melts for him. She runs off to do as he commands, glad that she and her classmates will survive. She is also glad that she showed her through his mind all of what he knows about the domain and how to escape it. Knowing there is someone like Bai fills her with hope that they will survive. Every praise she thinks all goes to Bai's ear. Meanwhile, Wag reports to Ryan that Fenny has died. Bai approaches the bodyguards and tells them that Shaju continues to be in her space dimension. Seeing him approaching, Ryan ordered Wang to take care of Sheena in the car. Bai warns them not to act harshly unless they don't want him to trigger the rule. Secretly, Bai communicates with Ryan with a voice transmission ability to tell him about how Gua wanted to kill Sheena to take away the position of family head, and that he was working with the head examiner and the 2 other bodyguards he is with. He also tells him about the bomb under the car. Mentioning a bomb makes Ryan think he is threatening their lives and makes him want to attack him. Bai grows tentacles out of his missing left arm, and these tentacles envelope the Dino's arm before it can get to him. Bai admits that he can barely block him with his strength. He tries to think of an ability that would be useful, but knows that any of them can trigger the color rule. He instead shouts at Wang to trigger the bomb under the car, as if they were secret allies of Goki. This leads Wang to ready and activate the bomb. Ryan quickly dashes towards him and grabs him before he can activate the bomb. The dinosaur crushes his body with his huge hand. Wang proposes that they die together and is ready to press the switch. Bai takes away his ability before he could. Ryan then throws Wang to distance, where the bull rams him like a passing truck. Ryan asks why he let him kill Wang when there were other more merciful ways. Bai answers that he does not care about their lives, and his only value is that he can help him protect Sheena. He then calls for Shaju to get out of her space, convincing her that everything is okay now as long as she does not have lifeblood on her clothes. He then tells her that Goki is already dead and that she no longer needs to follow her, and that instead, they should work together to take care of the plants and trees to protect the environment. He grabs Jin with his tentacle ability. The deputy examiner realizes she can no longer activate her ability. Bai tells her that her ability is his to keep now. Elsewhere on the campus, a student releases his banknote with the power to protect him from any spell. The moment he activates it, a green glow envelops his body. He boasts that it has worked and that he now has the ability to walk out of the barrier. Suddenly, the demo bull rams him and instantly kills him. The other panic, given that the banknote he used was considered very powerful for protection. They believe from all the clues that a change of environment must be the rule. They review that touching lifeblood and a cell phone screen lighting up are prohibited, as well as transforming into a bird or becoming invisible. Yin reviews that the student who turned into a bird could activate her power early on, only for her ability to trigger the rule later. Masa panics at how the rules are getting stricter with time. Yin suddenly grabs his mouth with his hand. Yin then grabs everyone's attention to tell them to keep quiet and not to use their abilities to stay alive. He tells them of his bad feeling that the rules might be getting stricter the more they get triggered. He fears that in a few moments, even breathing might trigger the rule of instant death. Masa gets on his knees, begging for someone to save them. Yin keeps thinking that there is no hope of learning what the trigger is. He tells Masa that it is up to the two of them to figure it out as the two strongest B rankers of the group. Suddenly, someone tells them that the specific rule is color change. It turns out Xiao has appeared, and she tells them that only she can save them. He tells them of her ability to probe minds, feel thoughts, and uncover the secrets of the human heart. She elaborates that she senses the killing intent of someone on the campus and found something interesting in the process. She tells them that she found out that Bai is a regressor who knows the changes in the future and is preparing to destroy humanity. They want to say something about her revelation, but she insists that none of them say a word. He then shares that Bai has spurned his humanity and plans to destroy the world, and that it is up to them to stop him. She touches Yin and Masa's heads to transmit to them what she has learned so far. Realizing Bai is so strong worries Yin and Masa. Xiao also shares that he has her mind-reading ability now, but believes that his weakness is that he gobbles up abilities without digging deep into each ability. She tells them that she created a mental barrier that prevents Bai from peeking into her head under surface thoughts, and that she also gave that ability to them. She reviews that Masa can fire energy projectiles, while Yin can use compressed air to temporarily improve his physical fitness. This confirms to the two that Xiao is indeed a mind reader. She also shares that she knows that Yin has compressed the air around them to make their conversation private from the other students. This convinces her that she chose the right partners, and she invites them to save humanity with her. This leads Masa and Yin to invite the other students to unite against Bai. Secretly, Xiao is happy that the students were so easy to manipulate and is scheming to take advantage of Bai's knowledge of the future. Elsewhere, Bai is annoyed that his new mind-reading ability keeps showing Xiao's fangirl thoughts about him. Currently, he is facing Ryan while trying to predict Shaju's next moves. He tells Ryan that he is leaving while secretly messaging him to continue protecting Sheena and to kill Shaju on sight. Bai uses Wang's ability to create a rope made of light to swing him elsewhere. Ryan wonders how Bai was never discovered if he is so powerful. He worries that since he is protecting Sheena, it means he also has the power to take him away from the family one day. Shaju suddenly opens her portal to exit her space dimension. She suggests to Ryan that they work together to catch Bai. Secretly, she is prioritizing the favor of the Jai family and fears that letting Bai talk to the family means she is in danger. Ryan agrees to work together as long as she puts Sheena into her dimension. Meanwhile, many of the students have gathered in the sports field to team up against Bai. They talk about the plan of letting Bai lure the demo bull to them so that they can put their abilities together to defeat the pollutant. Meanwhile, Yin and Masa have a mental conversation with Xiao about how they will convince Bai that the bull got trapped inside him so that they have an excuse to attack him all at once. They are glad to learn that many of the students have such destructive abilities. Xiao believes their plan is so good that they would make great henchmen of her someday. She declares that she will make Bai her slave before he can get stronger. In Bai's memory of the future, Pushkin put him under an operating table under bright lights. In this future, Bai was sold to the headmaster once Pushkin discovered his talent. He is restrained without a left arm. Pushkin appears in surgical clothes and requests a scalpel blade from an assistant. The operation was so agonizing that Bai fainted and woke up over and over. Pushkin lets Bai watch helplessly as he takes away his heart and other organs. Pushkin tells his assistant that he will have further use of Bai's right hand. The nurse assistant Sumi tells Bai that he should be blessed for having a divine hand that might end the age of pollutants. He asks that she kill him. The assistant tells him that Pushkin is the smartest prophet in the world and has already calculated all the times he will use his divine hand ability, and that the only thing he has not figured out yet is if his light sphere can also grant eternal life. Her condition for killing him is for him to give her his light sphere. Bai says he will give it to her and then lets the sphere get inside her. The feeling of the light inside her makes Bai realize how he can activate his ability. His rage rises, realizing that he is not the weak person everyone said he is. He retrieves the light sphere from Sumi. Pushkin re-enters the operating room, so Bai asks him if he knows he is about to die. He grabs a scalpel from the table and stabs his own eye with it. Back in the present, Bai mentally talks to Xiao to ask her if mind readers can feel other people's pain. His sudden mental voice surprises the girl. She sees him on top of the rooftop of a building and asks him to come over for his gathered students. He says he will stay where he is and asks what she thinks about pollutant people. Xiao asks if he is talking about the theory that human abilities came from pollutants. He shares his thoughts about how mutants have been polluted, especially their hearts. He reviews all of humanity's crimes in history. Xiao tries to lighten the mood by telling him not to worry about it. Bai then tells her he knows she gathered all the students to go against him, confusing the girl that her mental barrier did not work. He admits that he shared his memories with her because he did not care, and that her treating her own kind like cattle is proof that she is a pollutant. Xiao defends that she needs to sacrifice her fellow students for humanity to survive against him. Bai finds that she should sacrifice her abilities and power levels to him instead. Xiao tells him he is a demon for saying this. She tells the other students that they need to attack Bai quickly because the demon bull is inside his body. The students get hyped at the opportunity to kill him. Masa tells everyone he can convert everyone's energy and put it on someone else, so Yin volunteers to receive all the energy and blast it on Bai with his wind ability. Xiao laughs at Bai, thinking he has no chance of survival. As Masa puts everyone's energy on Yin, Yin feels the power growing inside him. Bai remains calm and simply points upwards. The students see that there is a giant shadow in the sky, being lifted up by pixies. Bai warns them that he can command the electronic pixies to send a bright light that can make the shadow even larger to cover them and trigger the rule. Masa and Yin worry that they have no defense against the shadow. Bai promises that they will die the moment they attack him. Masa begs not to be killed and points at Xiao for planning everything. Bai promises not to kill them if they give him their powers. Multiple light orbs go into the students and return to Bai, giving him countless abilities. He sarcastically comments on how low their abilities are. Everyone gets so weakened that none of them can stand. Xiao tells him he is a demon and warns him that Pushkin will not let him get away with this. Bai tells them that they only have one power level left, and that once day turns into night, they will be helpless as the demon bull descends on them. He declares that he will seal the bull after the night. Elsewhere, Pushkin tells his assistants that something bad happened at the school and that they need to hurry back. Sumi asks why he is driving when he can rent a plane if he is in a hurry, so he tells her that old men like him are very traditional. He tells Sumi that she needs to stay while Linky goes back with him. Linky assures the headmaster that she will be able to seal the bull. She leaves the room with the old man. Sumi looks jealous as Linky shows her tongue at her to tease her that she will go with the headmaster. Sheena's unconscious body is retrieved from the car and placed on a stretcher. Working together, the two hurry to place her in the spatial backpack and catch the young man. As expected, Ryan handles his master with gentleness and care, but Shaju rushes him with a sharp tone. Noticing something wrong, he immediately stepped back and put some distance between them. She clicks her tongue in annoyance and asks how he figured her plan out. Based on her behavior, she obviously intends to escape into the space with the young lady. She had heard what Bai said about the rules, and confirmed it based on Ming's death. Since the two men seemed to have created an alliance, she had to take the girl hostage. Ryan tries to call her bluff, saying she might trigger the rule and risk herself by doing so, but she has no problem dying altogether right there. She points at Sheena, aiming her finger like a gun and telling the bodyguard to move. Raising his hands in surrender, he agrees to obey as long as she keeps the young lady safe. After all, she's an ordinary person without powers, at least to their knowledge. Agreeing to the deal in frustration, the examiner opens her space backpack to let the body in. He watched closely, calculating the casting timing and window of the ability. It was a gamble, but there was no other option but to take it. Ryan trips the nurse, pushing Sheena's bed, causing her to fall to the ground with a loud scream. Shaju was momentarily distracted, and it was the only chance he was going to get. With this, he grips the armed van tight and hurls the entire vehicle straight at her. Although she was incredulous at the attempt, there were only a few things she could do to save herself. The woman chooses the wisest option, which was to jump back into safety of her portal. However, Ryan already expected this and let out a deafening roar. The sound waves hit the van's underside, triggering the bomb and forcing it to detonate right by the woman's side. The compact but powerful explosion blazed, and the bodyguard used his force field to protect them. From there, he sees the bull raging from the rule being broken. He curses Wang as the traitor used a bomb strong enough to take even a dinosaur like him out. Just then, a ball of light floated around the parking lot and high up the school buildings. It made its way to Bai, who gained the space backpack skill. On top of accumulating so much power, Ryan asks when he arrived, and the boy says he witnessed his smart plan to get rid of the woman, earning him a pass on his test. Making small talk, the guard realizes that the person before him was much stronger. Bai boasts about his cool moving throne, made from the energy light strings. He's offended as the dinosaurs seem to be unimpressed by his childish showmanship, so he piles on by showing even more theatrics. People were going to come tomorrow. If it weren't for special circumstances, he would have sacrificed everyone to understand the rule by now. Still confused, Ryan questions how this all even happened, and since Bai has taken a liking to him, he decides to spill the secret. The bowl, which served as the apparatus, is covered in an unknown golden substance. After coming in contact with a person, it unfolds into a pollute domain. Second, when the domain unfolds, the bowl remains asleep and is only awakened when a color change larger than its own appears. Unfortunately, an idiot earlier summoned a huge chunk of magma and triggered it. Third, the color of an object comes from sunlight, meaning the loss of sunlight would trigger indiscriminate attacks. Once all targets have been eliminated, the true form of the entity will appear, which is when he'll seal it. Based on the explanation, the bull would attack them after dark as well. This is where the space backpack comes in, as Bai and Sheena can watch Ryan get hammered outside. The ever-serious bodyguard fails to appreciate the boy's jokes, but he proudly shows his powers, which earned him the title of a human light. Hearing Bai's plan, the nurse couldn't believe that he intends to survive that way. He's more than capable of illuminating the entire area alone, and constantly at that. Back then, he was asked to adjust the size of his power, to emit different levels of brightness. Now he's adjusted the light to match the outside, and they will be in the only bright place once the sun sets. For Sheena's sake, he offers them a chance to live, as long as they don't cause trouble. The ordinary staff shook in fear, but Ryan just considered silently. Meanwhile, Bai thought about Pushkin and wondered when he's going to show up. He's deep in thought, trying to understand the actions of the man who could see the future. First off, the dinosaur worries for Sheena's safety, so he asks that she be returned to the space for now. The nurse and guard then insist on accompanying her for medical reasons. As the boy glares at them, they reason that it's just to save themselves, but to keep the lady safe. He's capable of waking her up any time, but he won't until he's sealed the bowl completely. For now, he rummages through the space, feeling something inside. It's Shaju's belongings, confirming that he's using the same dimension she did. Tossing all her stuff out, he manages to make enough room for all three of them. Before letting them in, he warns them against making a move on Sheena, as he can kill them at any time. They rush to the safety of the inside, and the portal is soon closed. Meanwhile, the sun was setting and darkness was rapidly enveloping the school. Seeing Ryan's troubled expression, Bai asks if he's scared, and mockingly notes that he must be worried about his boss' familial conflict. He tells the boy to drop it, understanding that people like them would do anything to revitalize their kin. The butler is asked about the Jai family's research, but he only knows that a thesis paper is what broke them apart. Sheena's father wrote about using the pollutants to enhance a sealer's powers. It was a fairly popular theory, and this level of commotion can only mean a definite conclusion. Again, Ryan only knows so much as the butler, and it'd be best if Bai confirms it himself. They decide to talk about it more later on, as things are finally beginning. With the arrival of the night, the desperate and agonized screams soon follow. Due to the sheer number of triggers, the bowls come in the form of meteors raining down on the school like deliverance. Soon enough, everything turned quiet, as there was no one left alive to scream. The question now was how he was going to seal it. Seeking the remaining colors left behind, the true body will reveal itself, and it's the only chance he has, As expected, he soon comes face to face with the polluted bowl. What if there was a way to bar it from sensing color altogether? Controlling Goki's power, he commands his shadow skill forward. It first wrapped around the beast's legs, enveloping its limbs slowly but surely. The range is a little small, but A-rank abilities can be strengthened by pouring more power in. He injects 3,000 power points and allows the shadow to consume the bowl completely. After a while, the skill covers its eyes and throws it into darkness. Just like that, the raging bull is contained and the polluted domain soon begins to crumble. Bai opens the portal, allowing those inside to fall out in surprise and confusion. The next step was to put the being in the space backpack and take it away for himself. He pours 4,000 power to expand the space, so much so that it sucks the bull in. With the portal closed, the killing machine is effectively sealed. Unlike Pushkin, he did not put it to sleep, but cut it off from triggers, at least only until he wanted it to be. Keeping his promise, he bestows some power onto Sheena and runs to leave. The young man jumps over the roof and, with a satisfied grin, bids his acquaintances goodbye. He flies with a combination of collected skills and sped forward while looking for the loan shark who tormented him endlessly. Sheena opened her eyes and suddenly jolted up her bed. Told that she was out for half a day, she urgently wonders where Bai is. Her attendants check on her condition and are surprised to see her incredibly high power levels. For now, Ryan calls on everyone to move out. She agrees, having a lot to tell her father, and asks to hear more about Bai on the way. Noting the dinosaur's transformed state, she questions why she's on guard, and for the first time sees the havoc that was ensuing. Half a day was all that passed, but everything around her was a disaster. Assuring that they're safe now, the bodyguard tells the attendants to leave and carries his young lady on his shoulder. Together they leap away. In the middle of the city, Kim smokes from a lavvish room, several stories above the streets. A woman on his bed seduces him, asking to get married already, but he waves her off and says they have to wait. Just then, a child bursts through the door, agreeing and saying she likes it the most when humans stick together. It was the loan shark's daughter, who was left in his custody after his divorce. Furious and feeling lied to, the woman tries to leave, but Kim leaves first and tells his child to have fun with the pretty lady. He left with a heinous smile, ignoring the woman's angered screams. With this, he makes his way down the building and answers a call. He gives his boss a rundown of the loan payments collected that day. His life was the best, blessed with a boss that trusts him, and a child that awakened quite early. Just then, his phone buzzed, and the connection started to break off. Coming clear again, he's told to return to work the next day, making Kim complain about his vacation. Bai smiles as he mocks him, telling the loan shark to report on today's business. Although annoyed over having to repeat himself, the man does as told but quickly turned his head. To his side, he sees the young man activating a bunch of powers. He walked to Kim with delight, saying he has to follow his orders from now on. The next order is to recall the death of every debtor he forced to die, and for him to die the same way. He trembles, struggling to go against it, as this would also end in his death. Frustrated by his cowardice, Bai frees him from all that fear with a skill. He's given extreme survival, which consumes power points to repair fatal injuries. Dissatisfied with his low power, the boy even gives a few points to help him survive a few more times. The first step is to die from a car crash, so he walks into oncoming traffic. Kim's death comes in the form of a speeding truck, but there were many more to come after. On the other hand, Bai heads up the building and knocks on his daughter's door. There, their large dog opens the door and greets him with a smile. For some reason, its upper body was that of a human's. The child was also there, her legs replaced by the woman her father was with earlier. He then uses the same power to control the child, and tells her to find her father and play with him. Using her splicing skill to combine with her dog, she turns into a ball and literally rolls out of the building. As he sighed in exasperation, his entire body suddenly shook, and a horrifyingly strong power tried to force its way out of him. It's the power of the golden bull, struggling to escape the seal it was caged in. Bai screamed and fell to the floor, as the bull's power tried to force its way out. He doesn't understand how it's doing so, despite the rule being cut off by shadow skill. For now, he opens the portal and injects 3,000 levels to maintain the seal, as the initial number drops significantly. From outside, he sees the monster staring right back, as if mocking his attempts. He pants in exhaustion, but knows that it's all but a temporary measure for the bigger problem. It was constantly trying to take over his body, and he wouldn't last 3 days at this rate. Unfortunately, he was in no spot to release the being and let the domain reappear. After all, it was a key part in his plan to take revenge against Pushkin. Kim was busy bashing his head against the wall and ignored the dazed daughter that bounced to him. He fell to the ground as Bai retrieved the power points he now had to spend smartly. The plan was to kill him with his boss, but that will have to wait for now. He sets off to find Sheena, hopeful that her researcher father might have a better way of sealing it. Meanwhile, Hua cursed Goki while slurping on his noodles, having just found out about what he did to his daughter. He knew the young man wasn't the typical person, and fortunately prepared beforehand. Ryan finishes his report on what happened, and they wonder how the old man found out. To their surprise, he admits to injecting him with hormones after he saw him peeking at his mother. From then on, he sent men and women to approach Goki, fooling him with a life of fake popularity. He even used items to slow his nephew's power growth significantly. After all, he's a devil who killed a girl when he was only 12 years old. His father, Renmei, suppressed the matter and the boy got away scot-free. However, their family was eventually caught, and is using the matters as leverage to get his research. Sheena offers to help, saying she can now that her powers have awakened. He fawns over her, promising to throw a celebration for the happy occasion soon. On the other hand, he'll deal with her uncle himself, and would like to meet Bai if possible. That said, the father won't hesitate to hurt him if he's interested in her. As he hugs his daughter, he shares an understanding nod with Ryan. With this, it was certain that something was going to change within the family that night. The bodyguard escorts Sheena away for now, eager to get her out of there right away. Hua was obsessed with research, and let the Branch family take over, but that ends tonight. If his daughter made it out of school alive, then the academy officials won't hide their secret anymore. The entire building has been cleared of civilians, and security measures have been switched off. He dons a collection of odd things, prepared to fight whoever he's going to encounter. A cat mask opened its eye, and uncontrollably jotted around to grasp the environment. He pairs it with a monocle, which allows the eye to sit still and focus. With the red coat, he can conceal himself completely, and see all things hidden and unhidden. It was a collection of 3 pollutants, turned into tools for the perfect stealth operation. A person comes as expected, but he doesn't know who Gi is. Bai, who was also hiding with stealth, looked around in confusion as he didn't see anyone. Since he doesn't have much time, he decides to leave a message instead. As he wrote a letter asking for help and information, Hua observed, reading into all of the young man's information and skills. To make things a bit clearer, he puts the monocle on, and sees the sinister energy of the bull raging within him. The researcher can't help but stagger away in shock, not expecting the S-class pollutant to be there. Consumed by his sheer curiosity, he takes the concealing items off and calls Bai his son-in-law. He jumps at him with an enormous smile, asking to be given the S-rank pollutant. The young man instinctively raises a telekinetic barrier. He keeps the excited researcher away, saying they might die if he lets it out. Considering how crazed he was despite the danger, the boy takes not to be careful. To quell his fears, Hua says the bull isn't that dangerous, having been informed about the rules already. After rummaging through a drawer, he tosses an odd creature to the visitor. Bai lets the jellyfish-like item in surprise, seeing it squirt dark ink onto his hands. While it's a low-class pollutant, it might just resolve his problem entirely. Hua tells the boy to pick the pollutant up, unless he wants the entire building drowned in ink. Using the energy line, he lassos the jellyfish and lifts it up. The Western continent is rich in oil, and has become a source of strife and war. They found a small country with a huge oil field, and wanted to bypass agreements to secretly exploit it. A month later, they saw the whole country was covered in darkness, and was sure it was an S-class pollutant. After days of discussions between nations, an elite team was gathered to take care of the global crisis. By the time the sealers arrived, the small country had been flooded in ink, killing all locals. They saw the lone jellyfish, still spewing ink, which disappeared completely upon being sealed. It sounds like a farce, but the creature really does fill space up with ink. Put it together with the space where the bull is stored, then their rules will cancel each other out. Bai is stunned by the mechanics of what he was suggesting, but given the logical explanation, it might actually be feasible to fill the space pack with the unlimited ink, instead of his consumable shadows. Still, the rules can collide and backfire, but the only thing that can fight a pollutant is another pollutant. Hua takes a C-class satiated octopus out, which grows rapidly to occupy half a space. If they toss it into his pack, it would probably burst into half the size of a galaxy. He gets excited, and insists that there are a ton of useful pollutants, which have minimal side effects. The researcher sneakily offers Bai his entire collection in exchange for his bull. Noting the items he used to sneak up on him, the boy considers using it against Pushkin. He plays hard to get, and absolutely refuses to let the valuable bull go. Hua takes it the wrong way, and says he must be using it to get his daughter instead. Despite his vehement refusal, the man still tells him to take the monocle, and is very insistent on it. After all, he's doing it for Sheena, and to make sure her savior doesn't die too easily. With this, he studies the item for a moment, and tosses the jellyfish into his space pack. Instantly he feels it spewing ink, and the speed of his shadow's consumption slowed down. Although he has many more questions, Hua tells Bai to leave, as he was about to have a busy night. Leading the young man to the faster exit, he gives one last warning against hurting his daughter. The sudden shift in demeanor surprises him, but he shares that he respects her a lot in the first place. He summons his wings and flies away, deciding not to ask what he shouldn't. The goal now is to prepare for Pushkin by collecting 1,000 abilities and 1,000,000 power points. Meanwhile, Hua opens a box containing a dark and shriveled hand. It's the A-class seal item, Monkey Claw. He puts his collection of pollutant items on again, ready to greet his visitors. The surveillance cameras show his little brother, Renmei, walking forward with a bunch of powerful sealers. The first is an old man named Ming, then came Jaya and Chen, all of whom are incredibly powerful. They want him to lift the restrictions on the use of pollutants, but this would essentially doom the world. Given their movements, his research must be on the right track, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. While all this was happening, Ryan was outside the estate guarding Sheena, who was resting in her room. Suddenly, a knock came to her window. It was Bai. Ryan turns in shock as the wall to the young lady's room explodes. Fortunately, only the wall was blasted open, and the inside was all okay. The same couldn't be said for Bai, who was completely incinerated. Sheena urgently looked around, trying to find bandages as though they would help. Since he's absorbed healing abilities, the young man says he'll try to take care of himself. Going through his list of recovery skills, he completely regenerates but chooses to keep his tentacle arm. The girl apologizes for nearly killing him, insisting that he scared her so badly. She heard his voice for sure, but saw tentacles on the window when she turned around, and couldn't help but wonder if it was an imitation. While she's still skeptical if he really is who he says he is, it doesn't matter to him, as he only came to make sure she's okay. Recalling how he even lost an arm to save her, the girl insists on thanking him somehow. Bai gives a jolly smile, explaining that he can fix his arm anytime. Ignoring him, Ryan is informed of what happened and asked if he could pull a few strings for her. Not too eager to join her, he summons his wings to leave, insisting that he has to go. The young lady is persistent and pleads to just give her some time to change into nice clothes. Humoring her, he thinks about Pushkin and how he's likely moving toward him already. With the headmaster's ability, finding him should be easy, so why hasn't he come yet? Countless thoughts flooded Bai's mind as he tried to make sense of what was going to happen. He's thrown into a loop of expecting the unexpected when Sheena's voice suddenly cuts through his mind, saying he seems too anxious. She emerges with a lovely dress, looking like spring herself. The best way forward is one with a good mindset, so she encourages him to enjoy the present. Convinced, he offers to fly her to their destination as long as she pays for dinner. The young girl blushes, thinking that he's going to carry her in his arms like in the comics. However, he isn't one for cliché romances, and instead fantasizes about spaceships. The two zoom away together, leaving a golden trail that confuses Ryan. They soon arrive at the mall and have a fancy dinner at a buffet, bringing a huge pile of food onto their table. Slowly, she brings her powers up and says she's been thinking about them. While there may be side effects, she's willing to go through them, certain she'll be fine with him and her father there. If it works, the girl will be able to help the people she cares about. He allows it for now, ready to keep her safe with his healing abilities. A while later, empty plates stacked high. With an oddly deep understanding of her new powers, she increases her capacity for food. Everyone looked on in shock, seeing the girl's figure inflate massively within moments. She smiled, delighted as she lost her appetite at one point, after focusing so much on her weight. That said, he can only think about how broken she'd be if she saw how large she had become. He goes through his skill list, desperate to find something to thin her back down. There are a bunch he can use, but she suddenly gets up to get some fruit, so he offers to get some for her, and takes not to get some napkins in case she cries. For some reason, there's a puddle on the floor. He doesn't bother with it and walks over for now, but his reflection stayed on the water, smiling deviously. The next time he walked over, Bai stepped into the water, and suddenly found himself sinking into the ground. Sheena was confused as to why he was taking so long, but the young man was high in the air, suddenly plummeting into the open sea. Hurtling from the sky, Bai urgently called to his wings, which soon appeared on his back. Still unable to move, he uses his energy ray to create the spaceship from before. The light fizzles out uselessly. He was ambushed with a no-fly rule, so he had no choice but to fall to the sea. However, doing so unprotected would leave him with fatal injuries. Using everything he has, he boosts his resistances and activates everything that can cover his body. Layers of muscle, rock, tentacles, and even summon monsters wrapped around his entire being. Not done, he uses compression to increase air density and friction, and essentially turns into a meteor that was going to crash into the sea. After the crash, he intends to use all recovery skills as well, topping it off with water survivability. Now the question was how he was caught, and who laid the trap for him. Deep underwater, a mermaid-like woman watched closely. Joined by two humans, she tells them that a guest has arrived. The sealer was named Yuzin, and had a mermaid bloodline ability. Kong says she's going to steal the crystal and seal first, and wants to pick the items first. Peng lets her, seemingly out for something different on his own. With their agreement, the three get moving, and the young woman uses her ability to steal the victim's items. The jellyfish pollutant appears, along with a couple of power crystals. She goes through her loot, saying the seal doesn't look useful, and gives the similarly weak crystals to Peng as mentioned earlier. Moving on, Yuzin gets ready to take his life, and everything else he has. It stole his flame abilities, but the image above water was saying otherwise. Still in the sky, Bai was hurtling like a meteor, but now had a deep red color. With the jellyfish gone, the bull raged and was doing its best to take over his body. Realizing that the enemy was nearby, he uses Mind Probe to look into who they were. He sees the three underwater, all having thoughts completely useless to him. Annoyed that they dared to make trouble against him, he humors their game and shot his shadow forward. It sped to the water, and Yuzin started to panic upon seeing that he was a multi-ability awakener. She moves fast to create a water vortex, which will crush him the moment he enters the water. To her surprise, the shadow dove into the sea, not caring about her vortex, and wrapped itself around the mermaid. Suddenly, Bai disappeared from the sky and charged right through her body, tearing right through it. The woman was still screaming in agony when his hand appeared out of nowhere. He grabbed hold of his head, still scowling as the bull tried to force itself out of him. His frown turns into a grin of satisfaction as he makes her head burst apart. He can use the demon bull's rule to instantly attack anyone whose color is changed by his shadow. Behind, he sees a couple of bubbles containing Tashinas he can't touch without risking death. However, Peng's ability wasn't so simply avoidable. Triggering the bubbles, he causes them to explode and was sure that his enemy was good as dead already. Unfortunately, Bai was far too strong to be done, and just like that, he tried compressing the Tashinas, but the sea currents raged, unwilling to obey the outsider. As expected, the rules of the sea are not so easy to avoid. The only way to deal with a pollutant is to use another pollutant. With a maniacal smile, he asks the bull if it wants to come out, and decides to let it breathe some fresh air again. The sinister red energy rushed out of Bai's body, seeping into the deep waters. The entire sea was consumed by a polluted domain, which also served as the territory of the demonic bull inside Bai's body. It was unthinkable for a human to house a pollutant under their own skin. Fortunately, Peng still has a seal, which should send him to a random space on the planet if consumed. The seal disappears from his hand, stolen by Kong, who was watching from nearby. She laughs at him for trying to escape on his own, and now she was going to leave him there. Immediately bursting the bubble to free herself, the woman unexpectedly falls unconscious. It was actually a seal that puts the user into a coma, and Peng planned for her to steal it from the start. Summoning the real seal and activating it to escape, a small whirlwind enveloped him. For a moment he disappears from the domain, but jumps back immediately after. In an unbelievable twist, he can't get out despite the seal. The desperate man summons several others, and although his body is teleported away for a brief moment, he returns to the domain all the same. This was the worst case scenario. When he was dragged into the sea, his other items were all trapped, and he's left with little to no attack skills. Peng racks his brain, desperate to find anything he can use to survive. On the other hand, Bai felt amazing, as he had full control over the S-class domain. He feels something odd and realizes that he was being attacked. It was a ridiculous attempt, one that only served to anger him. The bull kills people with instinctive instant teleportation that doesn't even consume power points. He tries it out and appears right behind Peng, whose back chilled with fear. The man was moving faster than he ever could. Bai shares that it's possible to transfer other objects in the domain and calls for the Tashinas earlier. Enlarging and melding them together, he threateningly raises it above the terrified man. Peng attacked with bubbles, unable to do any more than this, but the boy just caught it with his backpack, saying his bull was going to enjoy it. Now moving on to his death, he pushed the Tashinas forward, causing it to eat the sealer alive. His skin and flesh fell off as he cursed Yan, the woman who threw him into the sea. As he was vaporized into nothingness, Bai absorbed his ability and was unexpectedly delighted. He then moves on to Kong, who is still completely unconscious. Her stealing ability will not be forgotten, as it's a perfect supplement to his own. Unfortunately for her, the condition to activate it is to use one of her hands. With Kim's daughter's splicing ability, he removes her arm and finally replaces his tentacle one. It's been a long time since he last felt both hands. Moving on, the jellyfish is tossed back into the space back, and Bai almost immediately feels the bull receding as it blocked its vision. Defeating the two sealers has given him a bunch of rare consumables, including a rare droplet that allows regeneration at a certain point in time. With this, he now has another way of surviving against Pushkin. It's time to figure a way out of the domain, where Yan trapped the others for weeks. Turning around, the young man realizes that Kong has disappeared. Based on Peng's memory, there are dozens of sealers there, and they might have saved her. He's in big trouble. The ink is blocking the bull's sight, and his body has been polluted already. Bai's body was eroding because of the pollutant, and the effects were irreversible. Renhua's method has failed, and the only way to restrain the bull was by himself. The young man uses the mermaid's skill to summon huge fins and get out of the water. Swimming up with resolution, he aims to find the others and gather information, no matter what it takes. He swam forward, speeding across the sea like a torpedo, when he suddenly saw something that made him stop. Below him were countless sleeping whales, which may refer to the domain's name, Whale's Dream. To crack the hidden rules, he has to investigate carefully, without triggering anything risky. As he started to approach, a voice suddenly and urgently warned him against coming any closer. The sound came from the surface, where a small boat was floating right above him. Swimming back to greet the voice, he asks if it was her shouting. On the boat was a woman who asks for food in exchange for saving him. Bai thinks about the plate of watermelon slices he came with, but that's all gone. Knowing he just arrived, she persists and offers a huge sum, not minding if the food isn't fresh. The young man doesn't care about money, and is more interested in how she knows about him. He was stirring huge waves with his ability, and people there don't do that as power cannot be restored. The newcomer suggests slaughtering the whales for food, but that would just lead to death. To her surprise, he suddenly summons a bee, which releases an endless flow of honey. Unable to believe it, the woman promises to share everything she knows if he gives her some. Soon enough, she sighed in relief with a full belly. Fortunately, she got to meet him before losing her mind from starvation. Invigorated, she uses her ability. Her name is Wako, president of the Quan Chamber of Commerce, and she starts asking for his honey. Offered anything in exchange, Bai playfully asks if she's included in that. The woman bites and says it depends on the amount of honey he can offer. He backs away, only meaning it as a joke anyway. She comes close and, for a second time, tries to get him to give his honey. Pushed away again, she's told to explain how to get out of there instead. That said, none of them would be locked up there if they knew of a way. For a third time, she appeals, this time encouraging him to do anything to protect her. Her persuasion skill has always earned her success in negotiations, and no one has refused after 3 tries. However, her attempts earn her a hand around her neck this time. Unfortunately for the woman, Bai has skills that block mental attacks like hers. He was hoping to get out of there, but given how unfriendly everyone has been, he considers killing everyone. She screams in terror, now genuinely offering submission for her life. Not wanting to believe her promises anymore, he uses the divine hand to take her ability. The two calm down soon after. Wako had never expected such a person to emerge. With a confident grin, Bai uses her own ability against her and demands to be told everything. Whale's Dream is a domain that hasn't been breached, meaning its rules are still currently unknown. Without food, a depleted power level cannot be restored, and all there is are the whales below. They were in a sealer's prison, used by the Zhang family for pesky enemies. Their main business is assassination, and they're also hired to kill people outside the 6 main clans. That considered, he wonders if they have a connection to the Jai family. The 6 families have different fields of specialization, and she briefly explains each one for him. He then stands up, saying it's time to go and greet the sealers of the clans. He intends to obtain all their abilities and power points to find a way out of the domain. Wako argues that there's no point in being number 1 there, as they'll never get out. He refuses to humor any further arguments and just commands her to follow. Even if the domain is an A ranker, the bull residing inside him is an S ranker who can kill everything there. If he were to die in such a ridiculous place, Pushkin would surely laugh at him from outside. The academy was burning into ash, and not a single survivor could be found on site. Linky looks for the sealed item for the assessment, unable to sense it. However, they were all just derivatives and perished in the Golden Bull's rampage. The parents were outraged, rightfully so, as their children died from a random assessment. In the car, Pushkin says they must get used to loss in the era of raging pollutants. With this, he and his aide use a sealed item to teleport into the principal's office. It isn't exactly convenient, as usage consumes the lifespan of the caster. Linky's power of gold is able to seal all pollutants, which is why the Golden Bull was named as such. That key moment can pry open the door to humanity's survival. They move into a hidden room, which Bai failed to discover, even after his rebirth. There is a solid gold cabinet filled with pollutants, all of which were sealed by the girl. Pushkin's power isn't merely precognition, but one that allows him to converse with himself at each point in time. He uses a crystal ball, which has a small accessible world contained inside. Pouring his energy into it, turns the item into a communication space for his other selves. Feeling like she's hearing his biggest secret, Linky wonders if she's going to be silenced afterward. Just then, a bright light envelops them both, as he tells her to follow. She finds herself on the ground soon after, screaming and ready to fight. 3 different Pushkin call her a crucial part of the plan, and say he's ascending to godhood. The confused girl backed away, not understanding what he was saying at all. Behind the headmaster were 3 coffins, painted white and wide open. The little woman stared in bewilderment. Inside a couple of coffins were Bai's bodies, disemboweled with his golden arms severed from his torsos. Given Linky's understandable screams of terror, the old man explains that the corpses inside are the boy's past, future, and all that's left to do is fill the empty coffin with his present. It was an amazing and unthinkable power, not normally possible even for their era. She questions how he's sure that the bodies are real, and not disguised by a pollutant. Fortunately, the rule of his pollutants clears this suspicion completely. For example, an A-rank sealer once wanted to seal the S-rank pollutant but lost her humanity. She is now a cat with a human appearance, with her genes and chromosomes changed. Regardless, a rule is absolute and will make what is untrue to its words true. She shivers upon hearing this, realizing how fragile humanity is. They were at the turning point of human destiny. Pushkin summons a well that shows the most desired and undesired scene, which demands a hefty price to use. Certain that he'll get his desires after predicting Bai's actions, the old man uses it confidently. Linky is pulled back, safe and far, to avoid her reflection being taken by the item. The well shows the young man on the sea, still within the whale's dream. They're going to take his divine arm and intestines, and the girl has to seal it with her power right away. With his scalpels, the headmaster cuts into the water, and Bai's eyes open in shock, as his right arm suddenly falls from his body. Next come all his internal organs, which are quickly raised from the well. The price to pay is an equal value, so Pushkin cuts his flesh and allows his life to flow down. It was Linky's turn to move, and she readily uses her power, throwing it at the organs and sealing them as planned. The old man interfered with Bai's rebirth, taking his memories and instilling it in his present self. Without rebirth happening, he's unable to awaken his ability and seal the Golden Bull. The young man falls overboard and into the sea. It was done. In his past self, the pollutant cyclic day was sealed. So was the self-split pollutant in his future. As for his present, it's been fully corrupted by the Golden Bull's rampage. In ancient humanity was a primordial god who reset time, while riding the Black Bull of destruction. The Golden Bull's domain grows infinitely, self-split splits and expands it exponentially, and cyclic day sends it to return to its origin. These 3 are placed in Bai's body, and Pushkin is inputting their rules unto himself. Like a cell, he'll expand and proliferate his pollution domain, until it covers the infinite universe. Now ruling the past, present, and future, all pollutants and disasters will be sealed by him. In other words, the primordial god has returned to the world to save humanity. As Bai expected, his greatest enemy made a move, and now he was sinking into the sea. However, he's made preparations for this. After stealing Kong's arm and ability, he used Splice to switch his arm's positions. While his divine arm was safe, his organs were still gone, and he was about to die. In this case, all he could do now is take the innards of the whales and use them for himself. The gigantic creature bent over, its belly cut wide open and robbed. First was the huge heart, which the boy compressed into a usable size. He transplants it into his chest with object splicing. Bai smiled, barely clinging to life as always. Crazed from his mortal enemy's attack, Bai asks Pushkin if he got all he needed. Then ransacking the whale's body, he takes its organs and compresses them, transplanting everything into his own body. The boy uses all skills that could increase his survivability. Lastly, he closes himself up with a smile, satisfied with his quick thinking and handiwork. He takes a deep breath, and the whale's lungs are powerful enough to cause a huge whirlpool in the water. Waka was still on the boat, looking over and wondering if the boy was killed by someone. Suddenly, she found herself being drawn in by the whirlpool's current. After being compressed, the whale's organs retained the original strength of their functions. That said, his heart was pumping like a high-pressure gun, and now he had hypertension. He would have died instantly after the transplant if he wasn't using his extreme survival abilities. The situation was far from safe as he spent most of his energy, but now was the best time to counterattack. Killing a whale is supposed to have dire consequences, and he still has to replace his arm. Swimming up, Bai suddenly launched himself high into the air. He lands on the boat and nearly breaks the hull. Wako is understandably shocked, seeing that he still hasn't gotten used to the explosive power that comes with his heart's pumping. He repairs his broken leg for now and decides to head off and find the other people inside the domain. This won't be as simple as it seems. The boat was sinking on his side, since the whale's organs were too heavy to carry. Getting into the water and swimming is the right move, but he accidentally launches himself far again, failing to control his power. It's too difficult to adapt fast, so he resorts to using his water control ability for the time being. Rising above water, he tells Wako to direct him and continue explaining the domain rules. She asks what he did in the water just now, and why there was a huge current. As he explains how he slaughtered a whale to take its organs, she panics, saying those who harm the whales become one of them. In other words, all the whales floating under him used to be humans, and only one creature was originally of the sea. Meanwhile, Pushkin was still in the crystal ball's domain, working hard on the body parts he's just harvested. The organs and arm were golden, perfectly sealed, all according to plan. Linky asks if he still needs her, as her energy was spent doing all that. The girl is asked to stand back and witness the birth of a god. He takes a wand out, wielding the power to make a target obey for just 1 second. Using this, he commands the sealed parts to bestow upon him the rules obtained from the pollutants. The divine hands rose, and the orb of power glowed brightly before seeping into him. Cyclic day enters the Pushkin, giving him the ability to infinitely reset this point in time. His other body master's self split, but was barely stopping it from splitting him right away. However, nothing happened to the third body, and the principal stood there in confusion. The other two hurried him up, as they needed all rules to restrict each other in synergy. Realizing that it failed, the final Pushkin pulls Linky away and runs, leaving the other old men collapsing on their own. They exit the crystal ball's domain and appear back in the principal's office. The girl was exhausted, but she had to work fast and seal the ball as well. Gold ichor flowed from her wrists, covering the glass, and she saw just a glimpse of the people they left inside. She questions why it failed, despite using so many powerful items. Unfortunately, the rules they got couldn't restrict each other, and the human body couldn't withstand it. Now he can't see by, and even his divine arm is out of his grasp. She was incredulous, seeing him on the verge of giving up without granting her reward. Pushkin just chuckles, saying he's already failed countless times in his life. If he fails now, then another him will continue with their path forward. The old man then recalls a country that once used multiple items to produce a vampire army. In the Jai family corporate headquarters, a lone eyeball rolled around the ground. It shook in anger, not understanding why its plan didn't work. It was actually Hua, who took the red coat to enter the inescapable world of rain. With the cat-faced mask, he was supposed to be able to navigate freely, and with the omniscient lenses, he could ask for an exit. Since the lenses were given to Bai, he was going to use the monkey paw and wish for an exit. Blessed with one of the greatest minds, he was supposed to use the rules to restrict the rules. The plan was to use the combination and transfer all the important sealed objects into the world of rain. Just then, he sees something on the ground. It was the lens, which was supposedly given to the young man. The cautious Bai secretly returned the item, unwilling to rashly accept new pollutants into his arsenal. During his fusion, a fourth pollutant was added into the mix, so now he has to check what he turned into. Apparently, he was already dead, and was going to turn into a conscious pollutant soon. The mad researcher was going to have inhuman thoughts, which might lead him to turn evil. Unwilling to endanger his daughter that way, he rushes to eliminate himself. Moving around, he sets eyes on Renmei, on the ground and completely lifeless. Lee backed away in shock, insisting that he didn't cause the old man's death. The others shut him up, well aware that it was an unexpected pollutant attack. With the monkey paw, Hua wished to control all pollutants on his body in exchange for the closest relative's life, which in that case was his brother. If there was no relative, the item will randomly replace it with another judgment. Sure enough, a person controlling rules will die by the rules. Kuna was calm, saying they still had a shot at winning the fight. Lee warns them against underestimating their target, who was the most talented in their family. However, the outburst earns him a kick to the gut from Mayo, who's tired of overreaction. The pollutant used must have had a high price, since it hasn't been used again in a while. Although stunned by the girl's actions, the old man worries about the family business, which now has no heir. Additionally, the calm and collected young man is also powerful and has tamed many strong beasts. The most outrageous thing is that the beast mastered a certain rule and now obeyed him. Lee scorned Hua for going against the family and turning the area into a research facility. However, as soon as the other two suggest blowing the entire building up, the two old men panic in protest and indignation. Mayo was already moving, and her body sparked with electricity as she dashed and sped across the walls and ceilings, marking them with footsteps. She ends the quick round and returns to where she came from. Lee's face was covered with fear, knowing just what she intended to do. As he guessed, she detonates all the marks at once. The building blows up, and as it was about to collapse, Kuna called to his eagle-tamed beast. It crashed out of the windows, flying into the air and with the young sealers on its back. Looking at where they came from, they see the old man still managing to cling to his life by summoning his snake staff to get out of the area. Both Jai brothers were dead, and all he had to do was wait for his inheritance. The tamer knew he was about to come out and waited for the right moment to attack. Just then, they arrived back inside the building, shocked and not knowing what in the world just happened. It was as if time had been reset, but their watches were working as they should have been. Pollutants related to time are not something humans can control, so there must be an explanation. Hua watched after causing this, knowing his consciousness was about to be eroded. Using the monkey paw, he simply wished for the pollutants to be safe from release despite the explosion. As such, it merely turned the explosion into an illusion. The rule will continue indefinitely and cannot be overcome so easily. The information gap between him and his attackers had become apparent. Now, all that's left was to deal with them, with just his human wisdom. Kuna asks his partner if she wants to fight or run. Since the enemy is strong, she checks on the other side's progress first. Mayo starts the call by reporting on Renmei's death and asks for their status. A woman shares that she's dealt with one and that it wasn't an issue to get him into Whale's dream. However, the other target, Sheena, was still nowhere to be found. That said, the girl was actually right in front of them, but her enlarged size makes them doubt her identity. Unwilling to harm innocent people, Yan decides to wait for the target to appear. A girl named Juri was in tears, already trembling with anger. She slams on the table, questioning if they can ensure the death of those sent to the Whale Dream. This is essentially the case, but a body for proof cannot be provided due to the rules. What's more, Bai didn't exactly kill her sister Shaju, so there's no need to seek his death. This wasn't enough for the young lady, wanting to eliminate all those involved in her sister's demise. Sighing, Yan hangs up for now and tells her comrades to be safe. Hua was watching all this unfold and realized that he had to act quickly. He moved through the floors and rose to the higher levels. In order to prevent the pollutants from escaping, he installed safety measures in the building. Iron walls suddenly made their way down, locking the intruders inside. While the owner did not expect them to be used on humans, there was now no way to escape the blockade. Kuna realized that he acted as soon as his daughter was mentioned, meaning he's watching from somewhere. Activating her powers again, Mayo marks the ceiling with her white footsteps. To bypass the iron walls, they just had to jump up and directly into the monitoring room. As soon as she detonates them, a huge hole leading to the top opens up, and the two ride a giant mountain goat beast, which hops on the rubble and climbs to the upper levels. With only a couple floors left, Kuna smiled confidently. But there was no way Hua was letting that happen so easily. The pollutants in the cabinet can't be released, but there are plenty of usable tools there. He tosses a container over, freeing the gluttonous octopus. It wriggled out of the box and started to grow. The floor blasted open, and the intruders appeared with a pack of 3 wolves. To their surprise, half of the room was being blocked by a giant octopus, which slammed its tentacles on the ground. Since it's an animal-type pollutant, Mayo asks Kuna if he can tame the creature. But he can only tame ordinary creatures, and such pollutants are out of the question. Just then, the beast's limbs crept down the hole they came from, gaining new space to grow, expand, and fill. Because of its rule, the octopus will reach a size that occupies half of the building. Soon enough, its soft but indestructible body will crush them to death. Just then, he sees Kuna speaking to a wolf and telling something named Chen to come out. The canine's eyes turned into holes, and another pair opened up on its forehead. As Lee had mentioned, he was fully controlling a pollutant. Asked for help, the wolf asks its master for 4 characteristics of the target. First, he's within 3 meters of them at approach altitude. A spark lights up at one of the holes in the wolf's head, and identical ones appear on the pair. The descriptions must be extremely precise and conditional, and when one fits all four, they'll die instantly. As the tamer was about to move to the next description, Hua trembled in surprise, also having the condition-fulfilling mark on his head. Closing his eyes, Kuna says the next description is to currently be watching Chen. Realizing he matched it, Hua acts fast and retreats to the world of rain. However, he still gets hit by the rule, and the light flashes above him. The wolf's head seemed to follow them, slowly closing in. It was an amazing but simple to control rule that just needs concrete traits to activate. Since escaping to the earthly realm still didn't work, the scope and range must transcend dimensions. Looking at the glass, Mayo started to panic, seeing that 2 lights were now on her head. He tells her to calm down as 2 more traits are needed, and the next one will filter her out. Hua was racking his brain, unwilling to let himself be captured. Kuna moved and his comrades followed him, saying the target must have 2 lights as well. He hides behind a desk for computers. However, they still couldn't see the eyeball, who was hiding outside their sight in the other world. The third trait is the reflection on the glass in front of them. This triggers for the tamer as well, but he doesn't care, as he's well informed about his beast's ability. Moreover, he's sure that the target was still there, as his other wolves were patrolling the area. According to intel, he should have a red coat that hides his presence, so he must be there somewhere. He then turns to Chen and asks how many hit by the ability are on the floor. Told that there are 5, they count the 2 humans, the 2 patrolling canines, and the octopus. Since the wolf cannot be wrong, Kuna decides to say 2 traits successively and kill the enemy in 1 blow. With that said, it's fishy how Hua wasn't responding, despite being goaded by the rules. For now, he remains calm and thinks about effective conditions that won't hit their team. While he was closing in, the researcher was still in the other dimension, now having 3 lights marking him. He couldn't help but chuckle and appreciate human ingenuity, particularly of this cautious young man. However, he was not one to lose in a battle of wit, and has already found a loophole. The octopus occupies half the space it's in, and can communicate with the owner of the current space. Now, it's being controlled by Hua, and is covering the lights on the eyeball's head. Only 2 conditions were being met by the octopus because of pollutant mechanics. Making use of this, the researcher drops down to the creature's body and, intending to flip the situation, hides inside and borrows its body. Suddenly, the huge sea creature moved, and Hua's voice asked for a discussion first. The 2 intruders are shocked by the sight, not expecting it. Mayo scolds herself for not realizing that he had transformed and was about to go on the offensive. Kuna stops her for now, saying they can hear what he has to say. His hesitance spells the target's victory. Claiming to be a pacifist that is too weak to fight, he begs for peaceful negotiation. However, that can only be afforded if both sides are of equal strength or leverage. Hua argues that they both have 2 lights, and that it won't be easy to kill an octopus pollutant. The number of lights surprises the tamer, who wonders which of his conditions failed to hit. The first 2 are tried and true, leaving only the reflection description possible. The smart man was figuring it out fast. Since Chen counted 5 targets, the octopus and researcher were counted as 1. As the nail on the coffin, he sees the red coat mentioned by Renmei, right below its tentacles. Kuna smiled, understanding that the target both hid under the creature and became the creature itself. He tries to make sense of things and lists how the events must have transpired. Either way, merging with the sea creature was a dire attempt to avoid the wolf's instant kill. Mayo sends electric waves throughout the floor and confirms that she hasn't sensed any other living thing. Confirming the conditions that hit Hua, the tamer orders his lesser wolves to kill the octopus. They pounced at the huge body, which was surprised that they still wanted to kill him. They snarled and bit, ripping his tentacles away. The eyeball pops up, complaining about what he had to go through to survive. Kuna was ready for this and reached out, and the desperate researcher offers all the pollutants he's amassed in exchange for his life. He had no chance, but as a last-ditch effort, he leapt into the pollutant cabinets, intending to escape into the rainy world. Looking at the traces of slime on the shelf, the young man extended his hand to open it. His fingers touch the handle, and he moves back to pull it open. A huge smile spread across his face, certain he'd won. Mayo smiles confidently, and asks her partner if he's caught the target. However, Kuna did not respond at all, and has stopped moving completely. Hua couldn't afford to give her time to think, and had to move fast. As such, he returns to the real world, obstinately laughing and loudly shouting that she can't catch him. In that instant, she turned on the balls of her feet and quickly closed the gap between them. If he had moved a millisecond later, she would have gotten him before he could run back into the cabinet. Out of pure intent, She reached for the shelf handle and froze still, just like her partner. Returning back to the outside world, Hugo wondered if they were dead. Their eyes were blank, but the heartbeats indicate that their consciousness was simply erased. Because of his earlier wish on the monkey paw, the cabinets are impossible to open. When they tried to blow the building up earlier, events just led them back to the room. Now, their strong desire to open the cabinets are making the rule freeze them in place. The crisis was over, and the next step was to take care of the octopus, which was still growing. Pollutants don't die, and even if they're ground into powder, their rules will still take effect. Hua thinks about his precious and smart daughter, who must be waiting for him. Just then, he notices Chen, still there with the lights from its head gone. The master who issued the commands was incapacitated, so the conditions have been reset. Just then, a hole lit up, meaning it was about to start killing. Li was still walking around, grumbling about the people who tried to wrong him. He studies the building, delighted and thinking it was going to belong to him soon. Just then, he looks at a window and sees his reflection, along with the holes on his forehead, lighting up once, then twice, then thrice. Another second passes, and the 4 holes lit up completely. The old man instantly fell to the ground as Chen's rule activated. Once more, the task conditions on the wolf have reset as Li lost his life. After the beast master died, the rule of setting target descriptions changed. Without anything to rein it in, it was now killing indiscriminately. Hua had to stop it immediately, and the sealed items in the cabinet could be tried out. However, the more he thought about it, the riskier things became, as blind combinations might make it worse. There's only one safe, controllable, and reversible operation. He lodges himself into the remaining hole, preventing the completion of the last characteristic. To his surprise, it actually works for a moment, but just for a moment. Chen filled his thoughts, constantly demanding a 4th characteristic, and even using the omniscient lens. He considers giving it all up for his daughter, but worries what will become of his humanity. As the seconds passed, his thoughts grew more corrupted, until his mind was pushed to the very brink. In the whale's dream, the sea seemed endless. Just then, Wako pointed to the distance, saying there's a big ship floating. A man named from the Kong family was controlling the vessel with his ability, Ship Contract. Bai wonders why he doesn't take command of a stronger vehicle, and is told that he's a key figure in the development of ocean gold mining. There's a lot of infighting between their families, including the young vice presidents. He doesn't care all about that, and instead wants to hear about any powerful individuals. Besides Hugo, who controls the ship, there are a few more strong people, and others who stay inside their cabins. They're docked in the center of the domain, and resources are more likely to land there. Wako's family had no power there, so they took her assets and kicked her out on a small boat. Bai says they didn't eat her as they didn't want to do anything too drastic, but now she has him. Together, they headed to the huge ship on the water. With his empowered legs, Bai launched himself out of the sea and basically flew to board the Kong family ship. He lands heavily like before, crashing into the wooden deck and drawing attention to himself. The crew barely bats an eye, just questioning if Yan was up to something again. Having another newcomer was troublesome to a few, but is considered an interesting addition by others. A man with particularly high energy levels appears and asks which family the young man was from. He says he isn't from a notable family and just came after hearing how well they're doing. That said, they see Wako's little boat floating just a short distance away. The crew named Yagwo took a deep breath, and as Bai wondered what he was going to do, the burly man screamed. Shockwaves shot out of his mouth, which headed straight for the small boat on the sea. The woman knew instantly that she was going to die. Just then, the boy uses an ability and launches a word with similar sound waves. They hit nearly at the same time, and the boat is blasted into smithereens. There was nothing but debris and wreckage floating around. However, underwater was Wako, safely encased in a bubble. She was unharmed, and couldn't believe that Bai saved her, despite being well aware that she tried to kill him. What's more, she questioned if he really intended to go against the crew, all on his own. While it was foolish, she can only hope for his survival. On the ship, the young man smiled, satisfied that his mastery over his skills was becoming more proficient. Addressing the men, he says there's no need for showmanship, and they can head straight to fighting. After all, he needs to know how to get out of there, and he also has what they need: food. Yagwo couldn't help but be impressed, as the boy was good enough to match him. With a mischievous grin, Bai says he wishes for his ability, which is less modest than his. The man explains that abilities directly correlate with the user's energy level, but the boy shares that while he understands, he meant his wish in a literal sense. The large man named Gio then put his arm over him, asking if he had the strength to negotiate. He likely had only 3 options: offering food from outside, sharing useful information, or becoming their fodder. With an annoyed expression, Bai asks if there's no option for cooperation. They laugh at him, saying there's no way he can match their captain's ability, bestow life. To prove his point, he shows an ordinary branch, which had been granted life to become renewable and usable. Another example is a bait, which now had a meaty taste to it. Hugo even took a human arm out, preferring a chewier texture. In other words, Bai had nothing to offer to them. He understands that there's no room for reason, especially for a group who eats people. Seeing his surrender, they then tell him to be useful somehow. However, the young man's expression changed, and he maniacally decided to eat them all instead. In an instant, he appears in Gio's reach, driving his fist into the man's chin with a strong uppercut. The whale's explosive power sends the target flying into the air. Instead of being intimidated, Yagwo is excited by the spunky newcomer. Bai wanted to save his strength for his enemies outside, and just peacefully borrow their abilities. But just now, his mind was repeatedly screaming, calling himself a whale with nothing to fear. He uses flame thrusters to meet Gio, who is in the middle of falling from the sky. A knee to the back sends him high again, and another ability from the boy affects the branch in his pocket, forcing it to grow and wrap around his body. It seems he wants to counterattack, but he won't get that chance so easily. As such, he's forced to use his ability, Golden Bodyguard. His body is enveloped in golden energy as it's hit by eye lasers. Questioning his opponent's fighting style, he controls the golden aura into a sharp blade, freeing himself from the branch's grasps. Bai dodges the counterattack and summons his wings to be more accustomed to aerial combat. With this, the two maneuver around each other, and watching Gio made him realize that it might be the perfect ability to control the power of the whale's internal organs. Gio was getting increasingly infuriated by the outrageous situation. He was being sent even higher into the air with Bai's laser. That said, he was able to laugh, as none of the attacks could break through his power. Energy levels can't be recovered there, and hastily wasting it like he is would mean death. Just then, the young man used his psychokinetic hand and grasped his enemy, who was encased in his spherical aura. To everyone's surprise, he took the crew member away without looking back. The other two belatedly realized that their member had been captured. Yagwo insists on chasing after them, knowing the goal is their separation. However, Hugo refuses, reminding him of their order to hold the ship's position. The large man then volunteers to take a small boat and go alone. With his comrade jumping overboard and onto the small vessel, the ship contractor uses part of his will to send him to their enemy. The vehicle sped forward, speedily treading through water. Meanwhile, Bai was taking his time and knocking Gio around. The man's patience was running thin and he spewed threats, saying he's lucky they weren't on land. Giving him the benefit of the doubt, the boy descended to the water and froze it to solid ice in an instant. The golden ball crashes into it, and while it was annoying to admit, he had skills suitable to survive in Whale's dream. Bai arrogantly grinned at him and drove his elbow into the barrier. Gio scoffed at him, finding it ridiculous that a weak body would attempt to break his field. Just then, the young man's hand was encased in rocks, which were then compressed to store more force. With a crazed and hungry gaze, he clenched his fist and punched the barrier. Seeing the gold crack from the insane power, the crew member offers to talk it out. Bai explains that it isn't just the power, but the explosive force behind his blows. Continuing to strike, he confirms their statement that having many low-level abilities is useless. He's always wondered if the sheer amount would make up for it, but he was recently taught otherwise by a man who remotely took all his organs and arm without any trouble. The barrier finally breaks. Determined to collect stronger pollutants, he drags Gio out of his armor and demands information. While he admittedly can't beat the boy, information about pollutants is a family secret to them. Unwilling to waste time, Bai pierced through the man's body and used his mind probe skill. He begs for mercy, but it was all too late. Having already stolen what he wanted, the young man proceeds to take his skill and life as well. The golden bodyguard's corpse is thrown into the water, where it quickly sinks to the depths of the sea. A dark shadow spread on his face. Once a person dies, they turn into a whale, and the same happens to Gio. Seeing this take place firsthand, Bai confirms his suspicions about the rule. Just then, a shockwave hit him. Yagwo was attacking from the side, screaming about his dead brother. However, his attacks were useless, as the boy was already using the golden armor to protect himself. He's told to surrender and return to the ship, unless he wants to be sorry for it. Since everyone was being so unfriendly, Bai leapt forward and unhesitatingly bashed the enemy's skill with his knee. He flies back to the ship, collecting their power and energy levels. He had to hurry up, as the whale inside him was constantly trying to alter his consciousness. Hugo sees the intruder approaching from the sky. Seeing him land like a Frankenstein's monster of different parts, The man questions why he's alone and asks what happened to the other two. Unfortunately for him, Bai was in no condition to waste time speaking, so he grabs the man's face and grips it tight. He calls to Luke, demanding that he show himself immediately. As requested, a man approached, calmly asking to talk things out. The dashing and well-dressed gentleman appeared, introducing himself as the captain. Surprisingly, he knows that the newcomer ate whale meat and was being tormented. Long story short, he wants the captain's ability and offers him a way out of the domain. However, their goals don't exactly align. Bai warns him against forcing his hand, adding that the others probably won't wake up to help him. This makes Luke smile, impressed that he figured the rules out so soon after coming in. That said, he isn't the only one who understands the way things work. They aren't there just because they can't get out. In fact, he intends to start a new era right there. Sensing his potential, Luke asks Bai to join him on the ship. The young man replies that 2 men are dead, and yet Luke dares to invite him. The captain explains that no one truly dies in the whale dream. Bai smirks, then demands that the captain just hand over his life bestowal ability. Luke doesn't look concerned and says he will show the guest on the ship something interesting. He casts Golden Bodyguard, which surprises Bai. Luke's eyes then become bright as he casts the Laser Eyes advanced C rank ability called Flashing Eyes. A wave of light washes over the entire ship. Bai closes his eyes, but then quickly realizes that a mouth cannon attack is heading his way. He activates Golden Bodyguard as the blow pushes him out of the ship. Luke then casts Iron Palm Cage, creating a gigantic metal hand that grabs Bai. The captain wonders if they can talk peacefully now, but Bai casts Body Morphing. He turns into a kind of liquid that slips out of the metal hand's grasp. He then uses Metal Morphing on it, turning the hand into a giant iron sword, which he will now use to attack. Luke remains calm and casts Misty Weather to create fog that lowers visibility around the entire ship as he admits he is impressed with the number of abilities Bai has. The young man moves through the mist as his opponent, then asks how he will deal with the next move. He points his finger forward and casts the A-rank ability Lightning Summon. Sure enough, flashes of lightning appear in the sky as Bai realizes his long sword has now turned into a lightning rod. He casts Electro Spirit just as his sword is struck. He still gets hit, as a B-rank Electro Spirit can't fully devour an A-rank lightning. Luke doesn't let up and continues casting the spell. Bai uses Metal Morphing again, turning the sword into ninja darts that he flings at his enemy. The weapons head for the ship and move directly towards their intended target. Luke simply smiles and casts Etherealization, allowing the ninja darts to whoosh right by him. He is, however, even more impressed with Bai's ability to switch between and combine different abilities. The young man, meanwhile, is also excited after seeing the number and level of the captain's abilities. He suggests that Luke disperse the mist since it is probably now useless. He wonders, though, if he is a multi-ability user. He killed the owners of Golden Bodyguard and Mouth Cannon, so perhaps the captain gains the abilities of the users who die in this realm. He turns his head towards Hugo, who is still lying on deck. His thoughts are filled with praise for the captain and a belief that he will emerge victorious. Bai sees that he will get nothing useful from that guy's mind. He then contacts Wako, who is still inside the water bubble. He asks her for information about the owners of the skills the captain used. She replies that they are all missing persons from the 6 families, and are all newly awakened A-rank geniuses. Bai comments that these are truly dirty methods before stating that he placed a ghost bug into each ninja dart that he threw. The lightning killed 2. One remained, who is now using the ability to check the cabins to find out if the other ability users are still alive. He theorizes that Luke may be analyzed as a pollutant. In Whale Dream, he obtains outsiders' abilities after they die, and the factor that allows him to have multiple abilities is connected to the rules of Whale Dream. The first rule of Whale Dream is that harming or killing whales will result in cognitive contamination. If you fail to resist it, you will turn into a whale. The second rule is that falling asleep or entering a dream will cause you to disappear. It is, however, not a means of escape. Otherwise, the realm wouldn't be such an effective prison for the 6 families. Third, only rules understood by whales can be used. An example of this is that flight is impossible. The fourth rule, though, is what Bai believes is the most crucial. Only a whale can wake up from a whale dream. In addition, when a whale dreams, it creates a dream within a dream. Humans who turn into whales will repeat this rule and be unable to wake up. He looks at Luke and wonders how he is able to find loopholes under such rules. The ghost bug, meanwhile, slithers under the door and enters the cabin. The missing members of the great families are asleep but haven't turned into whales. He wonders what would happen if he were to place them all in his spatial backpack. He then notices Luke moving his hand and wonders what he is up to. Hugo is excited, as the captain hasn't used this move in a long time. He taunts Bai, who gets angry and vows to kill him later. Luke says the winner will be decided with his next move, which he predicts will grant him victory. Bai says he would rather die than submit to anyone and is curious as to why Luke is so confident. The captain raises his hand in the air. Hugo says this is the captain's strongest attack that can even split an A-rank contamination zone. Luke casts Divine Blade, and a blue transparent sword appears in his hand. It is a projection borrowed from a god and is capable of severing rules. He lowers the sword, and a large slash of energy appears, which will reach Bai despite his distance. The young man figures he must have borrowed this blade when exploring the rules of Whale Dream. He forms a bubble in his hand and closes his fist using Lost Wind, which teleports him to a random area. The slash destroys parts of the ship as Bai materializes in midair and seems to slam into an invisible wall. Luke explains that he can only use two abilities at the same time, which is why he is excited to get Bai's help. He has also cast a barrier around the ship from which no substance can escape before it is broken. The captain wonders how many more times his prey can escape his attack and again asks Bai to chat with him. The young man flat out refuses and then dives into the water. He sees misty weather being cast. Luke says it doesn't matter that he can't see through the obstruction since he is already using the barrier and Divine Blade at the same time. This is because the sword automatically locks onto the target. Hugo, meanwhile, is still mouthing off about how Bai will soon be dead when he fails to notice the young man is right behind him. Bai delivers a fatal blow to the head, killing Hugo. He then calls Luke's attention. The captain turns and slashes in Bai's direction, forcing him to use Lost Wind again. He again is able to teleport out of the way at the last moment. He checks his energy and sees that he has 4 Lost Winds left. He casts Bestow on Luke, and his blue light ball heads straight for the captain. This allows Luke to spot him again and attempt another slash, leading to another exchange. Bai appears behind Luke, and now casts energy recycling to get his ability. The captain sees that this is how Bai collects abilities and now understands why they are all low level. The young man is shocked, as it is the first time his recycling has failed. Luke explains that this ability depends on one's energy and spiritual power. It won't work on someone who possesses a higher level of both. In addition, Luke has an A-rank ability that doubles his spiritual power. Bai, though, simply scoffs at him and then seems to vanish. Luke panics a bit as he wonders why the mist has dispersed. He demands that Bai show himself, stating that his blade will never lose. To his surprise, his enemy is standing right behind him. Luke turns to slash, but Bai is already gone. His movement seemed faster than before. He looks around, looking worried, and spots his opponent sitting comfortably on the rails. Bai says that after simultaneously using the God Blade and Li Shing's spirit, the light barrier can no longer be maintained as he mocks what Luke just did. Bai explains that the person who possesses the rank F's skill mediocre talent will experience decaying mental ability, logical collapse, and emotional instability. Luke asks if this is why he has been fighting with negative status effects all this time. Bai smiles and says it hasn't even been a full day. With the barrier now gone, he can teleport 1,000 meters away. Slashing across such a long distance would consume a lot of energy, so Bai wonders if the captain would still dare strike. Bai is also taking this chance to use shadow form to infiltrate the cabins and harvest abilities. Luke is now shaking in anger as he sees that his opponent is determined to oppose him. His eyes glow yellow as he tells Bai he would have made him his right-hand man. His head becomes a scary visage as he casts Dream Revisited. Bai is surprised as he starts to get sucked into another realm. He realizes it is the power of rules, which seems to be emanating from Luke himself as his body vanishes. The young man then starts seeing scenes from Luke's memories. In a murky office, an imposing boss tells a young Luke that if he wants to join the family sailing squad, a bride is necessary. Luke forks over the cash, and he is given a position in the transport team. Later, the new hire pointed out that using trucks that had previously transported pollutants to now transport food might lead to contamination. The captain scoffs at him, saying that for over a decade, no one has dared interfere with the family, so how dare a newbie start pointing fingers? He threatens to fire him if he mentions it again. Later, more problems arise when Luke says the revenue from escorting the shipment should be distributed as they had agreed upon. The captain replies that their performance is so poor, and they still need money to bribe several higher-ups. He tells the new hire to just keep dreaming, as he can have everything only in his dreams. Sometime later, the captain would learn that one of the transport lines had been shut down, and that the authorities were coming to arrest someone. He decides to pin all the blame on Luke, saying he was the one who embezzled the cleaning fees. The innocent young man is thrown into prison. Left to rot, He remembers the words about everything being possible in dreams. The dream world would certainly be way better than reality. He curls up in a fetal position and tries to escape into his own mind, where there is freedom and light. The cell ceiling turns into a wide blue horizon, which Luke savors and enjoys. He keeps his focus firmly in this world so that his filthy reality may cease to exist. He stands in the middle of a grassy field and states that the filthy version of him needs not exist anymore. His dream version will live on for him, and on his dream version, he grants his skill, life bestowal. Back in the cell, Luke wakes up to see his dream form shining upon him, which he realizes is a pollutant. The pollution from the trucks had seeped into his body, giving his life bestowal ability the power of pollution. It infected his dream self, turning it into a pollutant representing his will. They take each other's hands and vowed to create a beautiful world that is like a dream. The dream avatar was still a part of Luke, so through it, the power of pollution flowed into him. In 3 days, he became S rank. As a result, he was set free, and the family now started praising him and offering him positions. Suddenly, they were all so nice to him. Luke, though, only further saw how polluted humanity was. He meets Yan, who invites him to sit down and discuss building an era of freedom without pollution. Bai is reeling from all the new memories now entering his mind. He sees that Luke is trying to shake his will using dreams like what he did to the people in the cabin. Bai, though, still finds his powers inferior to Pushkin's and summons a rebirth droplet. He activates it to send him back in time. The dark aura surrounds him, and he is whisked out of Luke's mind. The rebirth is complete, and we see all that Bai had planned. He used misty weather to hide in the sea and take out the rebirth droplet. He used gargantuan appetite to stuff Wako into his stomach. His shadow form seized the ship contract ability, and then used the rebirth droplet to anchor everything at this point in time. He is now back in the middle of his battle with Luke. Bai asks the captain if he has found what he lost. Luke is pleased that he was finally addressed by his title, but he does wonder about what he means. Bai then casts magnetic field control, pulling the ninja darts back to him. Luke finds it petty, but Bai is pleased as he catches a dart and declares that he won. The captain finds it funny, since even if the darts had poison, they didn't touch him. The young man replies that what the captain fears is not poison. He then raises his hands and stabs himself with the dart. Luke looks stunned as his enemy collapses to the ground, since if anyone dies in the dream, he will become a whale and grant him his powers. He then becomes suspicious and asks what his savvy enemy has done. Bai says he spliced his internal organs with the ship. Luke can use the abilities of all the dreamers because he is an avatar created in the dream itself, and thus not affected by the whale dream's human cognition. His main body is the one connected to the whale dream, allowing his dream self to be exempt from the negative effects of mutation. Now, by obtaining a ship contract, Bai has bound himself to the captain. He commands the ship to flip over. It spins and begins diving downward. Bai states that Luke's real body is here as they dive deeper. By being linked to the dream, and with Bai having merged with whale meat, the three of them, with the ship as a medium, have become a single entity. As a result, 2/3 of the whale's cognitive pollution has been transferred to them. In addition, Luke's mastery of dreams has been shared with him. The captain screams, saying that building a dream world with him is the only hope for humanity's future. Is Bai going to return to the filthy world and watch it end? Bai agrees about humans being filthy, but says he doesn't care about anything else, so he won't destroy the whale dream. He is simply borrowing something. He then uses God's hand to give himself the abilities life bestowal and Li Shing spirit. He then declares he is a whale and must awaken from the dream. Back in the real world, we see an empty dining area where Bai suddenly emerges from the floor. His octopus hands slam the door as he now struggles to resist turning into a whale. He still has 1/3 of the cognitive pollution in him. He then realizes he has accepted the cognitive alteration and is about to transform. His head turns into a large whale's head as he desperately realizes he still has hope, as he just obtained a crucial ability. Back in the whale dream, the real Luke and the dream Luke are amazed that Bai managed to get out. They recall how Bai seemed desperate by injuring himself despite not being cornered at that point. The real Luke believes that Bai used the rebirth droplet. This leads Dream Luke to realize that their dream needs to have more reinforcements for such an ability. The real Luke sees that it is time for them to explore more of the whale dream, especially now that the Dean selection is about to begin. He declares that knowing every inch of the whale dream signals a new era for the world. They pass through the whale they are standing on as if it were the sea. They call this section the second layer of the dream. Here they see Xiao's comatose body. Dream Luke cuts her with his magic sword, turning her into a whale. They get inside her whale's body to get to the third layer. Real Luke says that as long as they have whales, they can go even further into the dream. As they get deeper and deeper, they discuss the 9 layers of the dream, which involve a layer for pollutants, gods, sealers, and ordinary people. The deeper they get, the darker the depths of the sea look. They talk about no longer caring about the dean position or the escaped sealer, since they already hold the framework to end the pollution era. The real Luke orders his dream version to go outside the dream to find pollutants that are integral to perfecting their ninefold heaven. So they teleport away from the whale dream. Back to Bai, he is still at the restaurant and is just barely willing himself to stay human. He deduces that Luke pollutes himself in order to indirectly control other pollutants. He sees him now as an all-powerful dream avatar. Bai thinks Luke's ambition means his dream version will end up destroying him someday. To counter the curse of the whale dream, Bai summons his life bestowal energy balls to separate himself into 2. Within the mental plane, the 2 versions of him glow gold. In this space, a whale comes for the 2. They wonder if it will come after the main body or the avatar. It locks onto the main body and enters it. The avatar version of Bai quickly uses the persuasion skill on the main body and tells him that he is a life form subordinate to him. The avatar then strips away the main body's memories, immerses him in calm, and probes his mind to let him focus on his existence alone. The main body fell asleep within a barrier of golden light. In this state, the avatar commands him to forget who he is and let him embark on a journey to find himself. The avatar even tells him to start anew, as if he were just born. Bai then wakes up with questions about who he is. This leads him to go and see the void space of the mental plane. After an undetermined amount of time, he achieves enlightenment and realizes that he is neither man nor whale. First, he was confused and just wanted to get out of the mental plane. He walked and walked to no endpoint, even when he lost even the concept of time. Gradually, his pace slowed and his body faded. He accepted that he would disappear without a goal or direction. In this enlightened state, he realized that all of his collected abilities and experiences are nutrients for self-growth. It is then that his dark self showed himself in the form of a shadow. He introduced himself as his doubt and attached himself to his leg. The golden main body asks the shadow if the reason he could not lead was because of his short legs. The shadow replied that he was right. He told his golden self that he is the opposite of the elephant whose one step was even longer than his height, and the opposite of a snake that can slither 5 meters without using its legs. A leopard, cat, or dog that has 4 legs. Bai had an idea. He elongated his lower body like a snake, gigantified his legs like an elephant, and added 2 extra legs. He asked if he could lead this time. His lower half became so clumsy from the changes that he tripped. A ball of light appears and tells him that it is his doubts that are keeping him trapped. It introduced itself as the manifestation of his confidence. Bai realized that it was his confidence that gave him strength. It gave him the strength to stand back up and keep on walking. He asked the ball of light to dispel his shadow to erase his last ounce of confidence. The shadow tried to convince him not to let him die, justifying that confidence without doubt means he would turn arrogant. Bai understood what he meant. With both powers of confidence and doubt, he fired a beam of light towards the void above, causing the dimension to slowly break. He declared that with his doubt and confidence in balance, he would now find himself. In the waking world, Bai's balance of light and darkness within him dispelled the whale dream curse. Combining many of his powers, his tentacle arm forms into a black arm. He names his new arm the Arm of Self. With his inner turmoil resolved, Bai becomes focused on finding Sheena. 15 minutes ago, the restaurant was still open. Sheena has already finished multiple plates and just realized that Bai has been gone for half an hour. She uses her ability to detect the nearby hit in the vicinity. She senses the heat of people at occupied tables and people at the front desk, but still, she does not sense Bai's presence. She stands up, deciding she has to act if there is an enemy somewhere. As she walks towards the bathroom, she analyzes how many calories she has on right now and figures that her weight can be used as a weapon in battle. She enters the bathroom and turns on the faucet. With a touch of her hand on the flowing water, she makes steam that fills the room. Elsewhere, Yan and Juri are still at a cafe table, patiently waiting for their plan to unfold. Yan assures Juri that Hua will bend the knee eventually and that the Kong family will produce the dean soon. Juri voices her frustration that Hua is still not dead. This pressures Yan to phone her assassins, only for her men not to answer back. Juri complains that even the girl in the restaurant is gone. Back at the restaurant, the people are panicking that there is a fire because of the steam enveloping the place. Inside the bathroom, Sheena can sense through her ability that everyone is exiting the main entrance. She determines that those who might be watching her would be at the front door, and so plans to sneak away through the bathroom window. She tries to get out of the window, but she does not fit. She uses her ability to melt the side of the window, promising that she will pay for the damage later. This leads her to fit and get out. She tries to call her father on the phone while running down the stairs. She is surprised to find that the floor of the plaza is flooded, making her shoes all wet. There, Yan and Juri are waiting for her. Yan asks her who she is and threatens to kill her if she does not answer. Sheena asks what they want, so Yan answers that she is trying to find Sheena. The girl tells them that she is Sheena, but none of them believes her. It confuses the girl that they do not recognize her. She deduces that they are after her father and so feels guilty that Bai somehow got involved with the Jai family troubles. She blames herself for being too weak to protect the people beside her. She thinks about telling the two that she is not Sheena, but worries they will only focus on her father more if that happens. She gets determined to face them herself to protect the people she loves. She declares that she is Sheena and that they should come and get her. She activates her heat ability to create a flaming sword for battle. Years ago when Sheena was younger, she was training her swordplay with a wooden stick while in the garden, all under the supervision of the family bodyguard, Ryan. She was working so hard with her training that Ryan wanted her to take a well-deserved rest. The girl insisted on continuing, believing that she had trained nowhere near enough. Her cousin Goki was there just to tell her that her hard work amounted to nothing if she did not awaken yet. This angered Sheena, who pointed her wooden sword directly at his head. Goki was insulted but chose to humor her by getting ready to unleash his shadow power on her. Ryan told Goki that he would report how he had only trained for 10 minutes. This frustrated Goki, who turned off his shadow ability. The man held on to the tip of Sheena's wooden sword and dared her to make a move on him. Despite her outward bravery, the girl was hiding the shiver of her body. Goki teased her for not having the bravery to face him all out and told her that there is a big difference between someone who is an awakened sealer like him and someone ordinary like her. Sheena replied that a sealer is just a tool and declared that the greatest weapon of mankind is the will to break through any despair. At the present, instead of a wooden sword, Sheena holds a sword of flame, and she is ready to fight so she can protect Bai. She runs towards her enemies, Yan and Juri. Yan simply yawns at her actions. The water on the floor then forms into hands that surround Sheena. The girl uses her fire sword against the hands until they evaporate. She then continues rushing towards Yan. Yan is not worried and pulls out a flower-shaped water that she calls a sealed relic named Narcissus. She explains that once her opponent sees her own reflection on the water, they will be dragged beneath. The moment Sheena looks at herself on the wet floor, she gets dragged under. The water on the floor then turns into a sphere of water that levitates, and within it is the drowning Sheena. The girl tries to stay calm and think of a way to get out. Yan throws Sheena into one sphere of water and into another. The girl realizes that Yan is giving her room to breathe, and so realizes that she only means to capture her instead of killing her. She tries to think of a way to use the rules of Narcissus and theorizes that if she can no longer recognize herself, then the reflection rule does not count anymore. Suddenly, the sphere of water she was in pops. It is revealed that Sheena disfigured half of her face with extreme heat from her hand to change her appearance. She then unleashes extreme heat all over her body, both returning her back to her thin physique and enveloping herself with fire. She then rushes towards Yan. The worried Yan quickly puts all the spheres of water in the opponent's way to shield herself, but Sheena evaporates each one. This leaves Yan to plead for help. Just as Sheena is about to get to her, Juri intervenes and blocks her heat with her bare hands. Within a second, Sheena runs out of heat and is left weak on the floor. Sheena's resolve is not extinguished and she still wants to fight. Juri kicks her on the head and then asks her where her sister is. Seeing Juri's fury worries Yan. Juri then goes on to tell Sheena that she does not care about the feud between the 6 noble families, nor about the fight for who will be Dean, only that she made her sister disappear. She threatens to torment Sheena until she tells her where her sister is. Bai suddenly appears and kicks Juri. He declares that she and Yan will not leave alive. Bai asks Sheena if she is okay. He sees that she is already weak and can barely stand. He sees her face and thinks of Yan and Juri, who wounded her badly. Sheena says it was not them but is more focused on telling him to run and not involve himself in her family's fight. She faces the enemies and declares that it is not yet over. Bai suddenly touches the disfigured part of her face and uses a healing ability on it. In an instant, her face goes back to normal. It is only now that Yan and Juri realize that they have been facing Sheena all along. Juri is more frustrated that Bai has escaped the whale dream. Yan is shocked that someone got out of her ceiling. It leads her to go quickly with the threat that her pollutant Narcissus can drag anyone reflected in water into a space of her choosing. In response, Bai stretches out his hand, creating a blast of bright light that spans as far as their eyes can see. Now that they are in a white void, Bai teases his opponent about the fact that there is no more water or reflections. Yan becomes worried now that her narcissist has become useless. Juri thinks she is pathetic for relying only on her pollutant and so kicks her from behind. Juri analyzes that from where they are now, Bai is truly strong enough to get out of the whale dream. Meanwhile, Yan is panicking now that she knows that her whale dream is not inescapable. She demands that Juri capture Bai so the secrets of how he escaped the whale dreaming will remain a mystery to others. Juri gets so annoyed by her constant shouting that she hits her on the head. She then focuses on her two opponents and asks them if the examiner in their school, Shaju, is still alive. Without hesitation, Bai tells her that she is dead. He even teases Juri by saying that he stands no chance of killing Shaju since she is so above him in rank. This pisses off Juri, who readies to punch him. He is about to reach Bai, but the man stands calm and still. The moment she strikes, Bai teleports a few steps. He feels proud that he is still in great shape after collecting the innards of the whale as his own. He activates the orbs of light that represent his confidence, as well as black balls that represent the darkness of his doubt. Juri tries to punch him again, but he teleports again. He explains that his light of confidence means he can move freely within his white domain. He then makes another sphere of confidence into a sword of light. He attacks Juri from behind, only for the girl to stop his strike with a press of the sword tip. Bai is shocked that she easily blocked his new power. Juri declares that she will not win since she needs to find out what happened to her sister. She demands that he tell her what happened to her, all while tears stream down her face. Bai asks her if she is Shaju's sister and knows what it is like fighting for someone else. Why is she so merciless to everyone else? Bai and Juri clashes, causing a shockwave. Bai asks Sheena everything she knows about their opponent. She tells him that her hands can nullify attacks. Juri sees them talking about her abilities and dares them to attack. With a power-up, thick, armored golden gauntlets appear on her hands and shoulders. It piques Bai's curiosity if he can cut through her armor. He is confident that with the demon bull inside him, he can overcome her. Juri analyzes his opponent's ability and sees 6 balls of light he has manifested. She figures out that some of them are for attack, some are for defense, but there are other balls of light that she still does not know what they can do. She rushes for an attack with the intent of forcing him to reveal his cards. Bai counters with his sword of light, but she merely grips it to stop it. The girl then punches him with her free hand, but he teleports to evade. Bai reappears behind her. He slashes at her neck, confident that she can't nullify it if an attack does not hit her hand. He then sees that even her neck is armored up and has blocked the sword from hitting her skin. Juri is all fired up, excited to know what other tricks her opponent has. She then sees Yan still moping and yells at her for doing something. This leads Yan to focus on Sheena and how she needs to capture her. Seeing her approach, Bai sends a black orb at her. Juri is at the edge of her seat, anticipating what this orb can do. The orb enters Yan's head. Suddenly, she becomes wild, as if something is attacking her from within her mind. Bai sees that she is facing some inner torment due to his demon of the heart attack. He explains that his use of his power is the correct balance of confidence and doubt. With an orb of darkness, he creates a sword of shadow. Juri observes him and deduces that he can create an illusion or a psychic attack. She praises her opponent for proving himself strong. She readies her gauntlets for another attack. She then gets distracted by seeing Sheena going to Yan. She realizes that Sheena is trying to steal her sealed relic. This makes her furious enough to unleash her S-class ability of summoning an armored avatar of war. She mourns her sister and swears that they will suffer her pain. She clasps her hand, and so does the war avatar, creating a shockwave. Bai quickly runs to protect Sheena. Juri tries to catch them, so Bai uses his speeding ability. The white void domain explodes, but Bai has already flown away with Sheena. Sheena ponders that if she is this powerful, they should run and find her father instead. Juri is glad to see the white domain already gone, since now she can go all out. She summons the sealed relic of restraint shackles, which not only nullifies attacks but also erases every force acting on the object. She touches the building beside her, which separates it from Earth's gravity, so she throws it at her opponents. The building approaches Bai and Sheena like a fiery comet. The moment it hits them, it explodes. Out of the smoke, it reveals that Bai has blocked the impact with his light sword. He reveals that Juri has been the most powerful opponent he has faced so far. Sheena asks him to put her down so he can dodge easier. Juri dares him to do so, as if she will do something to Sheena the moment they get separated. This leads Sheena to think that she is just deadweight to him. Bai comforts her, telling her that she is actually his secret weapon. Meanwhile, Juri collects more energy, creating more shockwaves. Bai reviews all of her opponent's moves so far and determines that what she is thinking right now is that she needs to strike the moment he uses a light sphere. He asks his opponent if she thinks she has pinned him. Juri answers that she does, and he needs to surrender. Bai refuses, so she levitates many buildings around her, and then sends them all aflame and flying towards them. Elsewhere, the Peace Affairs office has surrounded the academy where Sheena and Bai go. The director of Peace Affairs, Kina, tells Rei that they have the place on lockdown, and that anyone who interferes with their operations will be seen as challenging their authority. Rei insists on coming inside the school, since his subordinate Shaju has died there. Kina replies that he can only cross over her dead body. She also pulls out her whip weapon to threaten him if he does not stand down. Just as the atmosphere gets intense between them, a Peace Affairs officer goes to Kina to update her that their magic mirror is showing images of the campus intermittently. The officer then realizes that he is interrupting their standoff, so he backs away. Rei threatens to use his annihilation ability on the director and says that he will destroy her whip in the process. Kina dares him to do so. Rei reviews that her ability is infusing weapons with her will, which then imprisons pollutants upon being hit by these weapons. He acknowledges that she is not someone he should mess with. Kina tells him to leave the school and even orders her officer to give him a ride home. Rei does not budge and insists that he needs to go in to find out what happened to Shaju. He threatens that there will be dire consequences if she does not let him in. Kina shows him the magic mirror, which is projecting where Pushkin currently is. Kina offers to share what the magic mirror is showing to Rei. The man is reluctant to do so because looking at it might set off some rule, but Kina assures her that the mirror will not do so since it is just a copy of the real seal relic. She also explains that it shows fragments of the past, even those inside the polluted zones. She goes near just to let him get a glimpse of the mirror. She believes that Pushkin must have foreseen Rei taking a look at the mirror, and that this must be a test from the principal. This leads Rei to agree to take a look. He is shocked to see all of Bai's experience since the day of the academy assessment. She then touches the mirror with her whip, ending the visions. Rei is satisfied and says he will no longer intervene by entering the school since he would rather talk to Bai and Sheena after seeing them so prominently in the mirror's visions. Just as Kina is about to object, both of them see a huge surge of energy from a distance, akin to a red explosion. Kina tells her officer to make a perimeter while she goes ahead to check out the explosion. She enters the door of her car and then spreads her magic energy around the vehicle. She then starts moving at full speed. She then notices from the side mirror that Rei is hanging on the side of the car. She deduces that he used his power of annihilation, which can create holes in space, so that his fingers can have somewhere to hang on to. She regrets how a man as powerful as he would rather chase rank than help people. She drives in zigzag directions to lose Rei, but the man hangs on. She then stops at the giant red barrier of the site. She is shocked to see how big the spread of energy is and deduces that it is an S-class contamination. Kina sees Rei about to enter the red field, so she tells him that she already has officers on the way to enter. He replies that he has no need for them and that he will still enter since his people are inside. He enters and Kina follows him inside. Kina is shocked to see Bai, with half of his body corrupted by the demon bull curse. The young man is in front of Juri, who can barely stand after his last attack. She recalls how he unleashed the demon bull like a projectile, which bulldozed every building she was throwing until it reached her. At present, Bai is walking towards her. Rei then gets in front of Juri. He faces Bai with great interest in his demon bull. Bai sets his sights on him as his demon bull's aura grows bigger. The demon bull rushes towards the enemy, yet Rei remains standing still as if nothing will happen. Juri's war avatar blocks the bull with its giant hand to stop it, but its arm just breaks into pieces. Juri tells Rei to kill him, justifying that he has something to do with her sister's death. Rei agrees and activates his ability known as Domain Dread Annihilation. Back in the days, Rei had no doubt he was a hero. He stands in front of a school, which he sees as nothing but a cage to trap young people. He raises his hands, saying they should disappear. Numerous portals open all over campus, ripping the buildings to shreds. Rei watches with a smile, thinking he has saved the students and given himself free time on Saturday. Later, in an office room, his father is scolding him for making him lose face in the sealer community. Rei smugly replies that right and wrong don't matter anymore. In this new world, it is those with power who decide what is right. He then tells his dad to just say if someone is mocking him, and Rei will handle it. He then declares that he will rise to the top, so that he may be the defender of what is right and wrong. Back in the city, Rei tells Bai that his only choice is submission. He then shows his power as the Annihilation Domain's black walls expand further, creating a large dome with Bai, Sheena, and Juri all inside. Ray then starts creating portals and states that he possesses thousands of sealed items. He only needs to use 3 to ensure victory: the B-rank item Envious Scissors, the B-rank item Red-Eyed Plaster, and the A-rank item Divine Borrowed Blade. Sheena is shocked, as it should be impossible to control so many sealed items at once. Juri smiles and explains that with the right ability, you can actually do it with fewer side effects. In addition, Annihilation is a god-tier ability that crushes contaminants and resets the rules for activation. Ray looks Bai in the eye and asks if he is ready to die. The young man then senses the Envious Scissors and barely avoids them as they zoom past him. Ray explains that they have a lethal rule that triggers under certain conditions. The scissors make a U-turn and head right for Bai once more. The young man moves out of their direction, but then sees it is now heading for Sheena. She looks on in terror, but Bai uses his whale skill to swallow her up in the nick of time. He then notices the blindfold of the Red-Eyed Plaster drop ever so slightly. He realizes he mustn't let him unfold his rules. Ray, meanwhile, raises his sword to finish the fight, but a whip appears out of nowhere and saves Bai. Kina has arrived on the scene and declares that she is taking over this incident. Ray says he will tell her friends she did just that after they hear about her death. Kina won't back down, but then is surprised to see Bai beside her. He then swallows her as well into his whale's belly. Ray is amused and considers giving him a chance to submit. Bai decided to devour Kina as well since she bought him some time, so he would save her in exchange. He can now face his opponent without having to worry about others. Ray taunts him a bit, saying that no one will witness his death. The young man replies right back, and then unleashes the domain Golden Bull Rush at full power. Pillars of red light shine all over as the Golden Bull appear out of the sky, crashing down like a comet. The Golden Bull smashes through the Annihilation Domain's ceiling as Ray ponders how anyone could control this level of pollution. He raises his divine sword to meet the bull head-on. Lightning from the sword strikes the bull, but is ineffective. Ray is stunned that even a god's blade can't stop it. He raises both hands, realizing he needs to use the gate. Multiple portals appear as Juri looks on. There is an ancient tablet-like door with numerous engravings on it. The bull makes contact with the portal, creating an explosion with the power of a nuclear bomb. Bai holds on to some rubble to avoid getting blown away by the shockwave. He looks pleased as he surveys the impact site, which has now turned into flames and a giant crater. The erosion on his body from the bull, though, is getting worse. Determined not to die, he takes out an energy sword and uses piercing light to slice away the corroded sections of his body. He rips it and then tosses it away. The body part morphs into a miniature shadow bull. Bai, meanwhile, uses healing and regeneration to restore the missing parts of his body. He catches his breath for a moment as we see that he now has 2 horns on his head. Bai then enlarges his head in order to spit out the 3 women he had been keeping inside. Wako let out a sigh of relief as she felt suffocated inside. Sheena notices the horns and shouts in concern, but Bai says he is fine. Kina, though, is angry and states that he just killed a candidate for dean and leveled half the city. Bai, though, just smirks and tells her to look around. They are actually in the wilderness on the outskirts. Since his domain level was higher, he teleported Ray and his domain to this location. Kina is impressed that despite the scale of his fight, he still had the wherewithal to consider the safety of innocent people. Bai, though, replies that he didn't actually care about that. The reason was that if there were too many casualties, Pushkin would surely notice, and then it would be harder to assassinate him. He picks up a blade similar to that Luke used and declares that it is now his. He then excitedly notices the other 2 sealed items and picks them up. Kina continues to admire him for being so young, and yet still knowing how to protect ordinary people. Bai, meanwhile, is still looking around for the gate that Ray summoned. He notices something in the ground and is about to grab it when it suddenly pops out. It is a giant teddy bear that protects Yan, Juri, and Ray. The old man smiles, saying he can't let Bai have the gate. Kina warns him that he has crossed a line and the agency won't just stand by. Ray, though, is still calm as he praises the young man he just fought. He would have been dead if not for the protection of Father Bear. He opens a portal, and a flying carpet comes out. Ray and the bear get on it as he thanks Bai for opening the gate that he couldn't open for so many years. Ray believes that if he can grasp what is inside it, the position of Dean will be his. He then flies away while Bai casts Retrieve, getting the 3 light balls back. He realizes he was used to open the gate and wonders what is inside it. The fight has also shown him that he still can't defeat a senior sealer, let alone Pushkin. He will still need to get stronger. Kina confirms that Bai is Sheena's classmate, and then asks him if he is interested in becoming a candidate for dean. Bai is a bit unsure about what Kina means. Wako, though, tells him to say yes, as this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Sheena asks who Wako is, and Bai denies knowing her, which hurts the girl's feelings. He also shouts at her for stating that she helped him when she, in fact, at first tried to enslave him. Wako says she had no choice and promises to repay him. She then notices Kina and formally introduces her to Bai. She is the director of the peacekeeping agency and the true power behind the city. Kina raises her hand to offer a handshake, but Bai is suspicious. He grabs Sheena by the arm and tells her that they are leaving. He activates an ability and the two of them fly away, leaving Wako and Kina behind. He does, however, communicate telepathically with Wako and instructs her to handle the negotiations and tell him all about being a candidate. She then shakes Kina's hand and attempts to cover for Bai, who is zipping through the skies with Sheena. She asks him if they should head to the hospital. He figures she is worried about his horns, so he explains that this is the erosion left after borrowing the Golden Bull's rule. It is irreversible. Sheena is worried about him and is still processing how the world feels so different after one day. Bai says the sealer exam was their coming-of-age moment, and they must now face reality. Still, she is sad since everyone seems to have become so strange. She asks if what her dad said about humans being polluted is true. Bai replies that the previous generation failed, so it is up to them now to solve the pollution problem. As for humans, they have been evil even before pollution appeared. In fact, he proposes the solution might be the extinction of humanity. Sheena says she will respect his decision, but does suggest that he hear Kina out. He explains that he didn't shake her hand because her hands, eyes, clothes, and weapon could have contained the power of rules. Sheena wonders if he is being overly cautious, and he says she hopes she never has to be like that. They arrive at the building, which Bai immediately notes looks a little different. Sheena says it is the last line of defense, so something must have happened. Bai summons a sword and moves forward to cut the wall open, but Sheena tells him to wait. She says pollution incidents must be treated with caution, and they must follow procedures. Bai replies that they don't know how dangerous it is, so they can't waste time. Sheena, though, insists on caution as pollution rules are constant. Once triggered, death could be instant. She says they must prepare themselves first, and that she believes in her dad. He is surely alive and has the pollution contained. Bai sees what she is saying and says she can be in charge. Sheena says they should first take stock of the polluted items they have to prevent rule conflicts and interference. She takes out the narcissus. Bai shows her the plaster head, scissors, and long knife, whose rules are unknown. There is also the bowl in his backpack, which almost killed him. She instructs him to place all the contaminants with unknown rules in isolated spaces in his backpack. They must only be taken out in an emergency. Next, they should circle the building and search for clues. She goes to check the ground while Bai flies to check from above. He notices that the entire building is covered in iron sheets, which is a bad sign. Something then catches his attention as he stares at a window. The four-eyed wolf is staring at him. He notices the area around him shifting, and he is soon teleported inside the room. Bai has been moved inside a pollution domain. The wolf is standing on a table and says that Bai has finally come. Hua is glad to see Bai again and is glad to know that he brought his daughter back safe and sound. Bai is looking at the wolf and is still processing that he is talking to the head of the Jai family. Hua tells him that he should recognize who he is, especially since he is the reason he ended up an eyeball with a wolf's body. He orders the young man to deal with the pollution problem he is under right now. Bai looks at the window, so Hua tells him not to even think about escaping, warning him that he has omnipresence, so he has no chance to get away from him. Hua shows with a hologram the moment when Bai slipped the glasses into his pocket. Bai watches the hologram to try to understand. The hologram turns to how he became an eyeball and then how assassins tried to kill him. Then at that moment, he unleashed a giant octopus. All until every event in the building until the present time. Bai points the finger back at Hua and tells him that it is his fault that he ended up an eyeball. He then looks at Mayo and Kuna, who are still stuck in time, trying to open the cabinets. Bai deduces that the pollutants used are not for harm, but are focused entirely on containment. Hua is watching him while he thinks and can tell that his guard is on despite Bai facing away from him. Hua faces the window to contemplate the hardship of living a peaceful life when he might trigger a deadly rule at any moment. To him, the world has come to an end. However, he refuses to care as long as he can use what is left of himself to leave a beautiful life for his daughter. He envisions her having a full life, filled with traveling, freedom, and happiness. Bai calls him to tell him that he will fix his predicament. With a ball of light, he spreads his domain to the entire half of the building. With his barrier on the building, he focuses on the gluttonous octopus and talks about its rule of always filling up half of the space. Bai's domain is so big that Sheena can see it from the ground floor outside. Back inside, Bai compresses his domain towards the octopus to keep it shrinking. It reached a point where the creature was small enough to be contained in a jar. With the octopus contained, Bai refocuses on the frozen Mayo and Kuna. With his light orb ability, he steals their powers. He then orders the wolf to come to him. Hua is reluctant to let him do anything to the wolf, since it might trigger rules that will kill innocent people. He demands that he stop ordering the wolf around. Despite Hua's protest, Bai pulls him out of the wolf's eye socket. Instead of unleashing some kind of instant death, the wolf starts asking its master to describe 4 characteristics of its target. Bai is intrigued, but knows he has to give it instructions if he does not want the wolf to kill him. Hua warns him not to give the creature orders. Despite this, Bai gives the wolf instructions. He explains that the target is on the mountain, and that their climbing speed allows the target to reach the summit in a day. He says that the second characteristic of the target is that once they reach the peak, it will take them another full day to ascend. Third, their speed is not consistent. Fourth, he says the wolf will find the target at the same position they were yesterday when they went up and today when they came down. Hua is impressed that the young man gave the wolf a question it can never solve. The first eye socket of the wolf lights up, signaling that it is in the process of solving the instructions. Hua is amazed that Bai figured out a way to trap the wolf in its own rules. Bai commands the wolf to vanish, so it does so. He is glad that he got to steal a power that lets him control the wolf. Hua says that now that the crisis is over, he will restore the building. He asks Bai to fetch his daughter, only to change his mind and ask him to send her home. Bai asks why he does not want to meet up with Sheena. The father tells him that he can't face her as an eyeball, so he asks him to cover for him and tell her that he could not see her. Bai agrees to do it and says goodbye. Before he gets out of the window, he asks first if Hua will never see his daughter again until he fixes his body. The father says it is a sacrifice he will make to create a beautiful world for his daughter. Bai does not really care about his problem, and is more concerned that he does not feel that he is strong enough. As he jumps off the building, he thinks about how he needs to gather more pollutants to fuel his growth. He also thinks about how he must set up an intel network so that he will be the first to know when an outbreak erupts. As he goes down, he grabs Sheena and carries her as he flies over the buildings. He tells her that her father told him he could not see her right now. Sheena wants to ask more, but stays silent about it. He drops her off at her mansion. Sheena apologizes for the danger she dragged him into, but he assures her that he likes that he became stronger from all the ordeals. He then gives her 5 skills by letting 5 balls of light pass through her. He asks that she master these abilities. He blesses her with a good rest and then flies away. Now she is alone, Sheena cries. She thinks about how she was of no help to him to the end, and how Bai must have protected her from knowing that her dad had died. She pulls herself out of her bad mood and finds the resolve to get stronger in the name of protecting those she cares about. Elsewhere at the mansion, Hua receives a call from Sheena. Sheena declares to him that she will take the Jai family under her command, and that she will execute all those who defy her. The next morning, at the Peace Affairs headquarters, Kina is at her building, still reviewing what happened at the academy. She ponders if she should review the magic mirror again. She recalls when Pushkin was explaining what the magic mirror was to the officers and how he told them that the mirror shows humanity's predetermined actions. He continued to say that stepping inside the mirror means seeing the picture of events at their clearest. He warned that once the mirror showed something dangerous, they must seal it right away. Kina reviewed that the sealing method was aligning the magic mirror with another mirror perfectly so that the images would not spill over, and then separating the mirrors once the images stopped showing themselves. Still, the old Pushkin suggested they enter the mirror to predict pollutant movements. Back in the present, Kina is in deep. She suddenly hears a voice, and it is revealed that Bai entered her office through a portal he made. He says that now that he is a sealer, it is only natural for him to come to her for work. Kina is glad to hear it and starts by asking him what happened in the academy. Her questioning makes Bai uncomfortable, and so he tries to sneakily leave. The woman continues to say that she is suspicious of him because he is full of corruption marks from the demon bull and was able to fight the strong Ray to a standstill. Bai tells her that he will tell her what happened in the academy, but warns her that it is a story that she would not like to hear. He goes on to monologue about how there is no more law and order in their age of pollutants and how humanity is just barely hanging on in their illusion of a civilized society. He warns that hearing his story is a point of no return, but that she will gain 4 rewards in the process. Kina is intrigued and says that she admires those like him who swim against the current. He explains that the rewards are his full report on the Huon High Academy pollution incident, her gaining a powerful enforcer out of him, and an ability she most desires. Most importantly, his agreement that he will run for dean under her banner. Kina stretches out her hand to finalize the agreement. It shocks Bai that she would agree so easily. The woman says she will do it because she trusts him. She believes that in the age where his heart will be moved as long as she shows him kindness. The woman says her thoughts about him out loud without shame, so Bai feels disrespected. Kina is so in on the deal that she forces him to shake her hand. She then moves on to telling him about how the dean candidate ceremony will begin in 3 days. She passes him a piece of paper and asks that she write a report on the Huon Academy pollution incident. After reading his report, she suggests that he change it so that it is clear that the examiner, Shaju, was taking orders from Ray in order for her boss to gather pollutants. She also wants to revise the report in a way that shows Shaju seemed to want to use students as pawns against pollution from the start. She adds on that she wants to make it look like Goki called his bodyguards on Shaju and died heroically, but passed on all his intel to his cousin, Sheena. She believes that this way, the picture paints a picture of the Jai family resisting Ray's takeover. Elsewhere in a large and dark room, Ray is with Juri, and they are in front of the ceiling gate. Shio is excited to see that the gate has finally opened up, even if just by a little, after facing the demon bull. Juri advises him not to pin all his hopes on the gate since it is just a door. Ray replies that it is more than just a door if it is powerful enough to repel countless weapons, including her abilities. He declares that the gate is tied to God himself. Juri thinks he has lost his mind if that is what he thinks. Ray does not feel insulted and thinks she just does not get it. He reviews that there are seasoned sealers who have mastered pollution laws, like her, Bai, and Kina, but none of them have reached the highest class of Dean. He explains that one can only be a Dean if one wields at least one pollutant without drawbacks, can handle an S-class incident, and has universally agreed upon ideas for ending the pollution era. There are only a few people in history who are considered Deans, and Pushkin is one of them. He recalls how Dean's ultimate solution for the pollution era is to find God. Everything he says feels like nonsense to Juri. Ray replies that all the fairy tales she has heard of about gods and demons are all behind the door they are in front of. Still, Juri does not buy him. Still, Ray wants to enter. He says he will go inside to find the secret of God and to ascend to being Dean. Juri has no problem with this and volunteers to guard the building for him while he is inside. Ray steps inside the gate. Inside, he is transported to a rocky land under the shade of night, and in front of him is something red and huge. He is excited to see that the object in front of him is as colossal as a mountain. To him, the world where he is now is the link between the world of humans and the heavens. Meanwhile, Hua, in his flying eyeball form, sneaks inside the gate too. He is shocked to see the same thing Ray is seeing. Exploring the massive object, she can tell that it is the corpse of a man the size of mountains. Meanwhile, Ray is climbing the corpse. He believes that once Ray climbs the peak of the corpse and finds out more of its secrets, his mind will not be able to stay sane. At the Peace Affairs headquarters, Kina and Bai have been working on the report all day, and Kina suggests they take a walk together. Bai is conscious that he has been wearing tattered clothes since last night, and that Kina gives him a spare Peace Affairs uniform to wear. They walk the street, where Kina is just happy to bask in the light of the sun. She tells him that they should value the small moments since they can never know the day they will end up dead. She looks at the citizens walking the streets and tells Bai that it is their responsibility as sealers to protect them. Bai looks down on her for being a strong person who shows kindness to the weak. She asks him what he wishes to do with his immense power. Bai answers with conviction that he wants to annihilate all of humanity. Kina thinks she is so cringe that she is barely holding herself together to not laugh. She congratulates him for having a goal, shocking Bai that she seems so open to a guy who just said he would annihilate humanity. Kina replies that she has seen worse sealers than him. She is reminded of her father's words about how he always saw failures as opportunities for new success. To her, her father was a great man who did everything to protect the innocent. Bai asks if his kindness led to betrayal from others, and she replies that he is right. She remembers how she teased her father for his naivety just before he died. Bai tells her he would be happy to help her get her revenge. Kina does not want it and would rather live by his father's ideals of protecting the weak. She recalls Shio since she believes he wastes his immense power worshipping a god who left the earth in disarray. She tells him that his desire to annihilate humanity comes from his trying to speak for the weak, and so understands him. She hopes that the day he succeeds in his goal is the day that the world will be saved. Bai warns her not to see him as a hero. Kina does not push him and instead urges him to focus on the Dean candidacy. She says that she will help him hide his identity until he achieves Dean-level power. Her advice is that he rest for now until next week, when the other candidates gather. This leads to Bai thinking that he needs to find a place to stay. Later, Wako is at her mansion, drinking vast amounts of alcohol. She complains about how all the board members in the Kwan Chamber of Commerce are plotting against him and how she has no evidence to prove it. She also hates that Bai is ordering her around. She swears that she will show him who is boss the next time they meet. Someone then takes away her bottle, which puts Wako in a violent mood. She is then shocked to see that it is Bai. She becomes conscious of the little clothing she is wearing and complains that he should have knocked. Bai tells her that he came to borrow a room to stay in. Wako does not want this and replies that he should stay elsewhere. Bai proposes that he would help her with her problems if she lets him stay. Wako cries now that she knows that Bai did not just ditch her and will actually help her out. Aside from staying in her house, Bai proposes that he will help her reclaim her family business in exchange for her gathering pollution data for him. His request makes Wako realize he has decided to join the dean candidacy, and she is happy for him. She explains that dean candidates must clear pollution events within a time limit. The first stage is clearing a C-class pollution incident, the second a B-class, and the third an A-class. She shares that Xiao is hated among the 6 noble families because he coerced them all to do his bidding in the last dean candidacy. Wako begs him not to get killed in the dean candidacy since he is the only partner she can trust. She shares the information that his cousin Shingo will also enter the candidacy and that she hates him for stealing her vice president position in the Kwan Chamber of Commerce. She says that his ability is making people absolutely obey him and is a more effective ability than her persuasion ability. Bai says they should move on with their plans to take advantage of how no one knows yet that she made it back alive. She asks how he knows that no one knows she is alive yet. He says that it is because he checked her phone and noticed that no one even messaged her. The young man judging her makes her so annoyed at him. Later, at the Kwan Chamber of Commerce building, Shingo is in his office, talking with a business partner. The business partner says he wants to step away as his partner since he believes it is time for them to deal with things on their own. Shingo steps away from his chair to lock the door. He then goes back to his chair to tell the man that he should sign a contract with him. The business partner's belt suddenly unbuckles, and this shocks the man. The old man senses an unexplainable ecstatic sensation. It leads him to agree to sign a contract with Shingo. Later, a company employee gathers a batch of student applicants for Shingo to interview. The lineup consists of nervous young women, all at the edge of their seats, wondering what Shingo will say to them. Shingo gets up from his chair and walks around them to scan them. He then goes to the door and scratches it. At the same time, the women feel a mysterious sensation that leaves them shivering. Shingo tells everyone to get out aside from the one in the middle. One of the applicants asks why he is not going to interview them. He does not answer and just shouts at them to get out of his office. The office door suddenly opens, smacking him in the face. Bai enters like he owns the room and says he came to be interviewed. Shingo demands that Bai get out of his office immediately. However, Bai plays it like someone ignorant and tells him that someone told him to go to him for an interview. Bai then sits in Shingo's chair and even puts his foot up like he is the one who is in control. The applicants all think that he is being disrespectful to the vice president and even contemplate calling the cops. Bai sees that one of the applicants is crying and asks Shingo if he was bullying her. He also says he is not leaving, claiming that he has the word of Shingo's cousin that he will take care of him. Shingo demands to know who the cousin he is talking about is, so that he can blacklist them from Kwan Court. Bai reveals that her name is Wako. Shingo replies that what he is claiming is impossible. Bai corrects him, saying that she just ditched home for a beach vacation and that he dragged her back home. Shingo calls him a liar. Secretly, he is thinking about how much the young man knows, considering Wako's imprisonment in the whale dream is a secret only a few know. He notices that Bai is wearing the uniform of the Peace Affairs office. This leads Shingo to accuse him of being in the Peace Affairs and sent by Director Kina to investigate Wako's disappearance. Shingo then tells the girls to get out while also telling the only one he hired to also get out to make tea for him. He watches as the girls go outside. With them now alone, Shingo tells Bai that he will cooperate with his investigation. Bai tells him that the only way to cooperate is if he hands over every pollution entity he controls. Shingo humors him by saying that he has a very good sense of humor. Meanwhile, Bai is thinking about killing him while they are alone. He smiles at the thought of killing him the moment he grasps the rules of the pollutants he has. Shingo continues to wonder how he has a hint of Wako's whale dream imprisonment when it is supposed to be top secret. He thinks about how it will take the interns 10 minutes to fetch him tea and how he can make his visitor disappear before that time. Bai asks him what his view is on parallel universes. Shingo answers that parallel worlds exist and that they directly affect their reality. Without warning, Bai's chest gets wounded. It leads him to fall to the floor, confused about what just happened. Shingo goes on a monologue about how he will not ruin his career since it took him a long time to claw his way up to the top. He claims that the contrast is that Wako got herself to the top by flaunting her body and flirting with everyone, and that is why he is the more honorable of the two. He declares that no one will stop him from going higher and making Quan Corp #1 in the world. Bai stands up with a hole in his chest, and yet is speaking about how Wako actually used her skill to climb to the top, like nothing bad happened to him. Shingo is shocked that he is still alive. Bai replies that his insides are built differently from others. He summons black spears and throws them at his opponent. The orb is about to touch Shingo, only for him to suddenly disappear. Bai looks around but cannot find him. To get ready for him, he opens his light domain, which expands until it covers half the building. He snaps his fingers, which teleports all the people in the building to a street nearby. The people panic, thinking that they must have experienced some kind of pollutant event. Back in the building, Bai shrinks his domain. He then realizes that he can only shrink his domain to the entirety of the office. He believes that it is because the rules of his domain are clashing with his opponent's ability. He deduces that Shingo is hiding in the parallel world he was talking about and is too cowardly to get out. He recalls how Shingo attacked his chest with some kind of invisible hand and deduces that he must have some way to turn his entire body invisible. Bai heals his chest to full health. He then yawns as if there is no trouble and takes a nap on the office chair. Bai closes his eyes and genuinely sleeps. Meanwhile, Shingo is watching him, wondering where Kina found someone like him. He is currently a ghost in the parallel world, frustrated that his opponent healed his own chest and even retreated his moments in the parallel world to only the office. He tries to get out of the office, but he finds it impossible. The most frustrating of all for him is that the young man is just napping on his chair as if it were just a regular day. Since a strike through the chest did not work, he ponders if he should take off his head instead. He hopes that the leather shoes he is wearing, which his brother gave him, will bless him with a victory. He walks on the floor and creates waves like he is stepping on water. Stepping on it enough, a pattern of footprints lights up to reveal itself. The footprints go all the way to where Bai is. Shingo declares that he has found his opponent's footprints in the parallel world. He follows the footprints until they lead him to a ghostly version of the napping Bai. He explains that he has the power to command the parallel world and harm his opponent's parallel bodies by stepping into the parallel footprints of others. He grabs onto Bai's throat with his left arm while pulling on his left horn with his right hand. With a firm pull, he separates Bai's head from his body. The man laughs as he looks the young man in the eyes. He recalls when his big brother was wearing a business suit and announced to Shingo that he had become the manager of a business team in a company. The young Shingo, who has unkempt hair and clothes, told his brother that he did not believe he became a manager overnight. The big brother replied that his claim was real and asked if he believed in parallel worlds. Jang replied that he would believe it only if he paid him. He justified that he had no choice but to sell even his soul because the Quan family does not like poor relatives like them, and so he has no chance to be hired in the Quan Corp even if he had a good resume. He shared his view that it would be a lot easier if he were a woman who only needed to spread her legs for money. He believes he was not being sexist since he had a girl classmate who had an easy life because she could easily flirt with guys who would give her whatever she wanted. He believed that all he had to do after graduation as a girl was wear skimpy clothes to make money. He claimed, while shouting, that he was justified in hating women because he would like to live in a world of fairness. The big brother believed that he just liked the girl's classmate and would not admit it. The flustered and prideful Shingo told him that he wanted nothing to do with her. He said that if parallel worlds existed, he wished he and his classmate would never cross paths, but that even in that world, he would still be a loser. All he wanted, he said, was a world where he could get money fast all the time. The big brother laughed at him, making Shingo wonder why he was not disturbed by everything he had been saying so far. The brothers asked him if he liked the leather shoes he was wearing that accompanied his business suit. Zai answered that they looked great. Suddenly, the big brother disappeared in front of him. It then went dark. Shingo opened his eyes, only to find himself lying on a hospital bed. His mother was happy he woke up. Shingo asked what happened, as all he could remember was that he was chatting with his brother. The mother did not know what he was talking about and told him that he was found fainted in a rental store. She also reported with sadness and tears that his brother hanged himself 3 days ago, and that she wished nothing bad would happen to him too. Shingo was shocked to hear it, especially after his big brother told him that he had found a job as a manager. He quickly got up from the bed to frantically find his brother. It was then that he realized that he was wearing his brother's leather shoes. Shingo looked down in shock, not understanding how his brother's shoes got to his feet. Suddenly, he's struck by an old memory. A long time ago, His well-dressed brother noticed him looking at his shoes. Looking far shabbier than he is now, he uncaringly looked at the man. To his surprise, a dark energy wrapped around his feet. He's told to put the footwear on and enter the beautiful parallel world and bring great things back. With a sinister smile, the older sibling reached out, enticing him to join. However, Shingo knew he wasn't his brother and was likely possessed by a pollutant. He continues saying he got his awesome job in the other world and transferred it to reality. In other words, he was consumed after provoking a pollutant, and now he's trying to harm others. Slipping away from him and the loafers, he ran out of their dingy apartment and down the building. This was not a problem for the pollutant, who could slip through walls in the parallel world. He called out to his little brother, who was trying to escape as fast as possible. Tempting him with money and fortune, he crept forward, slowly but surely toward his prey. His cold but deep voice rang throughout the streets and alleys, clear as day to Shingo, who was shivering as he hid behind a dumpster. He watched his older brother walk away and finally breathed in relief, thinking he was safe. What he doesn't notice right away are the pair of leather shoes, now back wrapped around his feet. Shocked and in disbelief, he jumped out with a loud yelp. Unfortunately, this exposes his location, and the pollutant brother finds him right away. Again, he's told that anything can be accomplished in the parallel world the shoes bring him to. As his dearest sibling, he simply wants to share its blessings and bring him there as well. Shingo was firm, shouting that the sealers from the peace agency were arriving soon. However, he's then asked how different sealers are from pollutants. He tried to answer, but couldn't find one that didn't contradict his ideals. Mastering rules is only a way for ordinary humans to cross social classes. With wealth, status, and power right in front of him, giving up would be foolish. The young man realized as well that this was his one chance in life to get all he yearned for. On one hand, he can use the pollutant and risk death, and on the other is a boring life with no meaning. Bubbling with determination, Shingo makes a decision and stands up to take his brother's power. The older man was delighted and promised to take him to the parallel world. Just then, he remembers the other world's paradise-like life, which anyone would love to have, and asks his brother why he'd bother returning to the real world anyway. With that said, he accuses him of lying about how beautiful things are on the other side. Repeating his words quietly, the older brother started to smile. Soon starting to cackle, he agreed and gripped his neck, deciding to head to the other side forever. It was slow and his body trembled as he strangled himself, but he eventually reached his destination. He fell to the ground, lifeless but with a smile on his face. Shingo's brother wasn't smart, but he wasn't foolish enough to die from a simple suggestion. As such, he deduces that he's already been killed by the pollutant and was just following its rules. Knowing better as the smarter sibling, he vows to inherit everything and live well. With the leather shoes hugging his feet snugly, he walks into the promised parallel world. Now, he holds Bai's severed head high, proudly asking his brother to look at what he's achieved. He now knows that the other world is fake, and the hellish human world is the only truth there is. Suddenly, the boy's head spoke, alive and well despite it being ripped right off his body. Shingo lets go and jumps back in surprise. Bai is just glad that he's finally shown himself, and says he only has 4 minutes before his brain dies. Shingo raised his foot, aiming to crush Bai's skull without mercy. The stomp landed with a heavy crash, but the impact struck only empty space. He spun around in confusion, demanding to know where Bai had gone. He saw that Bai's realm was still active and wondered what 4 minutes meant. Shingo realizes Bai plans to release his pollution by dying. He steps down hard and activates his realm, a parallel world. He explains his realm shows others' footprints, and capturing them lets him summon their parallel selves to obey him. Purple footprints began glowing across the floor. A figure appeared from the prints, but he said it was not the one. Another figure rose, but he dismissed it right away. Shingo muttered in disbelief because Bai's footprint wasn't showing up. He wondered if Bai was already gone and taken over by the pollution. He thought if Bai was gone, he should decode the pollution to escape. Then he realized his parallel world was free from reality's rules. He checked the time, it was 9:42, 2 minutes since Bai lost its head, and the pollution was starting to stir. He calculated it would leave at 3 minutes, grinning as he offered to help with the countdown. But then a faint sound reached him, steady footsteps that felt all too familiar. He froze when he heard the sound and realized it matched his own footsteps. Shock spread across his face as he shouted in denial. Shingo checked the time. The pollution should have left Bai's body. Footsteps echoed closer and closer. He screamed for it not to come any nearer, stumbling back and yelling for it to stay away. In desperation, he pounded at the walls, crying out to be let out, but the steps only grew louder, circling him, until his body trembled with fear. He heard a low chuckle behind him. His parallel self stood before him, smirking as he asked if his leather shoes looked stylish. Shingo had no idea why, but he was now facing himself, or rather a mirage of him. What's more, there was an odd wound running around his neck. Since everything other than that was the same, he wonders if it was him from a parallel world. Looking at his phone, he sees that 5 minutes have passed, meaning Bai must have died already. His reflection suddenly reached toward him, his hands ready to grip around his neck. He pushes himself away and runs to safety. The reflection topples over like a mannequin, and his head falls off from the part where his neck was wounded. Bewilderment and panic started taking over him, as the head corrected itself and hopped over to his arms. The headless body then took it, and reattached the part back to its neck like it was nothing. Shingo was finally understanding that the young man had somehow switched their footprints. From the beginning, the head he removed by triggering the footprint wasn't Bai's, but was actually his own. His reflection was looming over him, and he realized that the life that had 4 minutes left was his. For 2 minutes, his consciousness faded as he reminisced, even remembering the female interns. In the 3rd minute, the pollutants separated from the body, and he heard the sound of leather shoes. After 4 minutes, he completely died and the pollutant emerged, causing him to see himself. He hid in the other world and killed his real body, but the pollutant chased him even then. In other words, he no longer has a future and his life ends there. Holding the severed head with a smile, his reflection placed it on the table and began to change form. Bai appeared, revealing himself to be the so-called reflection manifested by Shingo's overthinking. With the life force of a whale, a hole in his chest, or even decapitation won't easily cause his death. The boy's head really was torn off, and the man's deduction was just a misguided way to make sense of it. After hiding in the parallel world, he thought he was well hidden and couldn't be found. What he didn't know was that Bai used transparency to feign disappearance and just joined him in hiding. From there, it was just a matter of manipulating the environment, and in turn, his mind. After everything he went through, the ending was unavoidable and absolute. Shingo's methods would have worked on anyone else, but he was unfortunate enough to become Bai's target. A sealer whose mental defenses have broken down like his are doomed for a short life. Making him reach that point wasn't a challenge, especially with the young man's telepathy. It has nothing to do with the parallel world, as the rule of the leather shoes allows the wearer to enter a world of out-of-body experience, influencing others with soul power. The cost of use is paranoia, and the inability to return to the real world. Taking his light and dark swords, Bai cuts through the pollutants and completes the containment. In the Quanchai Chamber of Commerce headquarters, a board meeting is called. Wako announces that Shingo must have been apprehended by now, resolving the company's internal strife. A board member scolds her, saying they didn't gather to watch young people accuse each other. Another asks for proof of her claims, and another questions why she's so intolerant to others, despite coming from the bottom herself. With this, Wako boldly explains that she isn't there for revenge, but to take control of their entire chamber. This sparks a fiery reaction from the others, who are unwilling to hand such power to a little girl. From that one statement, the entire board banishes her from the company and the family. She wanted to make their chamber the largest in the country, but things changed since Ray came. Fortunately, the person she follows has more hope of becoming the dean than Ray. After creating a miracle to save her, she's willing to bet on his future. Spilling water onto the floor and revealing Yan's water sealing tool, she says she knows that the executives who framed her are all there, and will be punished accordingly. The board tells Wako to rein her ambitiousness in with a little more prudence. Bringing a sealed artifact into a board meeting is enough ground to have her expelled and punished. Unfortunately for them, she did not care about such threats, and continued to let the water flow onto the floor and pool under their feet. As soon as a man sees his reflection, he suddenly finds himself sinking into the water. He grabbed onto the desk and screamed, begging anyone for help. Trembling as he kept his grip, he questioned what the girl was doing. Another executive slams his hand to stop the attack, saying he'll give her back her position as the chamber vice president. However, trust that's been broken cannot be rebuilt with just a few words. After all, the decision to get rid of her must have been made unanimously. They panic upon hearing this, obviously confirming the accusation. The man was still sinking, and his grip was growing tired as the water sucked him in. Finally, he slips, and they all watch as he disappears from their sight, leaving only after a low but painful gurgle. Wako draws the window's curtains and looks outside. On the streets, she sees a bunch of men walking around. They were an odd and suspicious combination, which she recognized right away. As a threat had come for the board, the Kwan family guards have come to respond. Surprisingly, the woman kept her smile and told them to look further into the distance. There stood the nostalgic branch office building, her her former workspace. Somewhere between them was the person she mentioned about to arrive to her rescue. They tell her to worry about herself. After all, the family guards have arrived at the foot of the headquarters. One pushed his arm out, and as he raised his fingers, a metal sheet trinket on his knuckle lit up. The entire group was encased in a glowing purple box. Wako is surprised as the window she was looking out suddenly glowed the same color. As she backed away, the guards appeared before her, teleporting several stories up. A burly man greets her, saying he never thought he'd see her again. The executive tells them to deal with her quickly, as they have other meetings to attend. With a disgusting smile, they confirm that they can do whatever they want to her. A small member points his phone, saying he needs a recording of someone being killed and tortured. His device is a sealed item, able to convert videos into dreams that can throw his targets into nightmares. With a sleazy expression, he tells Wakov to be mindful of her reactions. Again, she still hasn't lost her smile, and says she's well aware of who they are. Lido can transfer his scars to others and recreate their injuries, and specializes in decapitation. Yutoki has elevator buttons sealed at the back of his hand, and is responsible for transportation. Gaku phone records videos, which can be turned into torturous nightmares for sleeping targets. Toshi can enter people's dreams as a Grim Reaper, pairing well with Gaku. Lastly, Tom has a whip, capable of making things hit endlessly spin like a top. Since Wako already knows so much about them, they discourage her from resisting her death. Just then, a flash of light came right in the middle of the group. As it cleared out, Bai appeared, casually resting his hands on the men's shoulders. Unfortunately for them, he has no intention of letting Wako go anywhere. Smiling as he looked at the hand on his shoulder, Lido told his members to do it. Just then, Yutoki took action and placed his palm on Bai's back, marking it with a bunch of elevator commands. Raising his fingers like he did before, he says goodbye to the intruder. The up mark lit up, and all of a sudden, the young man found his body flying to the ceiling. Unable to stop the strong force, he breaks through to the next floor, then the next, then the next. In a matter of moments, he's been blasted out of the roof of the building. Despite being blasted up, he was elated, seeing that the sealed item can be used for his spaceship. But first, he has to find a way to stop it from sending him higher. Since the rule of ascension was applied, he won't stop rising without the user's permission, and he'll continue even if he breaks through the atmosphere and enters space. The others complain, saying they weren't even given a chance to play around. Meanwhile, the executives scoff at Wako, who proudly boasted and dropped everything for her backer. The smile has not disappeared from her face. Bai was still being launched up, but he was completely calm and in thought. After a while, he takes his sword of light and swings it around, but finds it blocked by the elevator sending him up. The small-scale domain trumps the sword, so he needs a counter rule that also generates movement. With this, he opens the light domain, first encapsulating himself, then spreading it to consume the entire headquarters. Just like that, he appears right back in the boardroom. They staggered back, unable to believe what he just did. In a fit of rage, Yutoki repeatedly clicks on the buttons on his knuckles, commanding them to work. Since Bai is using the light domain to stop the elevator, he can't teleport and must be careful. The elevator man was still pressing on his sealed item, and it's so bad that Lido urgently tries to stop him from corrupting himself. Gaku had already sensed that he was at his limit, but did not expect such a fragile mentality. Waka mocks them, saying at least they're there to seal their own ally. She laughs at them, making sure that her words hit hard. Just then, Yutoki fell to the ground, surrounded by a dark and sinister aura. Tom takes his whip out and volunteers to stop their comrade. However, Lido stops him, saying the pollutant has already corrupted and killed him. He can hit the sealer, but if he interacts with the raging seal artifact, he's going to lose control as well. Besides, their group isn't his target anyway. Yutoki lifted his head and bared a devilish smile. After pressing the up button repeatedly, he now presses the button to open doors at the same time. The sealers start to panic, remembering his old warning that doing this causes something terrible. Just then, the familiar purple light flashed right in front of Bai. It opens up like a door, and the young man is shocked by what he sees. Before him, the doors have opened to show the inside of an abandoned hospital. A nurse appeared, her face blank as she crept slowly toward him. Considering her an ordinary dead person, he wonders if the sealer has lost control. Just then, another nurse appeared, splitting from the first. The boy looked down, trying to make sense of what was happening, but there were 3 nurses when he looked back up. Absolutely perplexed, he rubs his eyes, wondering if he was being deceived. The amount increases again, and he finally realizes that his blinking was triggering the multiplication. Gaku wonders why he's suddenly screaming, but is told not to die from curiosity. The elevator came from a hospital, that's been abandoned for 30 years. A caregiver who was polluted killed everyone there, and even a dean candidate couldn't resolve it. For now, they have to use Hitoki to stop the nurse from getting out, once he kills his target. The number of nurses seen on the other side was now troublesome, so Bai had to physically keep his eyelids open to stop them from increasing any further. Testing things out, he looks away for a second then back, but even this triggers the rule. Just then, he uses his light teleportation powers and calls one of the executives to his side. The old man disappeared from his seat and in an instant, found his neck being gripped tightly by the boy's hand. Still holding onto his pride, he demands to be released and threatens repercussions. Bai knows he's the mastermind who framed Wako, so he asks if he has any last words. The old man struggles, screaming that he must not know that Ray backs them. However, he shuts up as he sees the sealed item, throat-chasing shears, which pierces through a target's throat instantly. The boy tosses it back to his space back, glad that he randomly got the rules for the item. As a reward, he's going to throw the executive to the beautiful nurses. Panicking, he turns to the ceiling guard squad and orders them to save him. Bai smiles at the command, knowing they wouldn't dare involve themselves with the elevator. As expected, they remain still and silent. The pollutant is connected to an S-rank incident, which even a dean candidate couldn't figure out. As for Han, he might have been an operator who merged with the elevator when the pollution broke out. The bad news is Bai was being targeted, but at least he's the only one being targeted for now. If he dies or runs away, the others likely have no method to stop the nurses from escaping. He reads the mind of Toshi, who considers distributing a nurse to each bachelor in the country. Agreeing with the idea, he decides to let the executives try first and tosses the old man inside. As soon as he plops down on the hospital grounds, the women approach. He tries to crawl away, begging to be saved, but no one would dare go inside to save him. After all, he's a pig who spends millions for himself and doesn't care about his subordinates. Subordinates, just like the guards, whose lives don't even matter to him. Waka wonders why he's so talkative, and if he's in such a pinch that he can't deal with the others. Sensing his troubles, she volunteers to test the rules for him, promising obedience. However, there's no need for such sacrifice, and she just has to stay away. After all, the old man was already surrounded. He flailed around and screamed, telling the women to stay away from him. One hand finally manages to touch his face, and as soon as it does, dark threads immediately begin sewing from the ends of his eyelids. In a matter of seconds, both eyes have been sewn completely shut. Unable to see, he hears Bai's voice, mockingly telling him to touch the beautiful legs nearby. He has no choice but to do so, more to keep himself up instead of vile pleasure. Through this, the boy confirms that being touched by the nurses triggers the rule, but touching them won't. Just then, Leto appeared from behind, intending to end the fiasco by killing him. He comes with a smile, but it's returned by Bai, who was waiting for